Alrighty then.
What episode? 55, isn't it?
I think you're
55.
That's a good guess.
Welcome to another episode, guys. 55.
Just got back from the gym.
Yep. Been in lockdowns with first gym session in about a month. Pretty miserable session. We're just weak as piss right now, and it's fine. It's back to square
I remember
one.
I went on Friday because you went today, right?
Yeah.
Because when the first day opened. And I was just sitting there just doing the weight because I've gone so down on my weights and stuff because I have to like rebuild it up. Like I was doing 16 kilograms on my shoulder press. So 32 total. And then I went down to 12. And I was just like, after the first set, I was like, this is why the consistent repetition of the journey is so important. It just doesn't matter how strong I was before.
Doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't mean shit right now.
Yep.
You know, and it's the exact same thing
like
with SoloQ, right?
Yeah.
Like taking breaks and like just like through seasons, you know, through different seasons. Like you could have been that in season.
Right. X season, this
It just
rank.
doesn't matter. And you know what? Like, I think we talk about this lesson a lot on the podcast, but I just need to be reminded of it constantly. You know, it's like, well, it doesn't matter how strong you were, how good you were in the past. If you get sloppy with your daily habits and your repetition and your schedule, well, I mean, you know, I'm not going to say that, like, I could have probably worked out. There's no excuse. I didn't during the lockdown. Done. That's it. I'm weak. Now I'm in gym. Right?
Did you find it hard to go to the gym?
No, I was ready to go.
Just back in.
Straight in. Yeah, literally the first day, just go. I didn't care.
I didn't. Mine hasn't been like that. Today, I felt myself in the morning, like, just those voices creep in. It's like, why? The same thing.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't like change my outcome, but it was there. But before the lockdown, voices wouldn't even come in. They just don't bother because I'm not gonna.
Maybe they were just blocked out because I just knew I had to go. Otherwise, I'm just gonna die.
Well, it senses weakness, right?
Yeah.
Your subconscious, like, it senses weakness because it wants to conserve energy.
I've just gotta go. There's no question. This is the first day back that gyms are open. I have to go, otherwise I will slowly fade away.
So did you want to kick it off with the update from?
Yeah, so that's what we said in the two podcast episodes ago. Curtis and I set a challenge to ourselves, is inspired by the cage rule, buying the computer and helping out the guy from his SoloQ. So us having more conversations, getting more network and stuff in SoloQ. Because we are really bad, like we don't really talk to anyone. And yeah, now we have to give an update on how that's gone. So I'll start with me. Zero people I've added. I have been learning Zinzao. I have been learning Rek'Sai and Elise. I've been making very bad gameplay errors, and that's causing me to lose confidence. So that means that it's like that mindset of help yourself before you can help others. Like, why? There's nothing to even talk to someone about. It's like, this is embarrassing level of play. That's where I'm coming from. It might be justified, it might be not. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating my mistakes. But, I mean, if you actually go into my YouTube channel, my last video, my personal reviews, I said I was reviewing it on stream. And people were saying, this is worse than my gold games. Like something like an invade fail and like a level 2 gank mid. Sorry, a level 1 gank mid. Yeah, as in Zao, right? Because I got E, like I'm somewhat useful. And I go for it and Lissandra hits level 2 and I show on mid. I've gotten 0 games at this point. It's bad. Stuff like that, Curtis.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
There's no point adding someone.
Yeah, so...
Try to tell them, how could we have played this better?
Yeah, that's right. There's none of that. It's been bad.
Yeah.
But I'm slowly getting it.
That's part of the journey, right? You can't.
It's going to take me a couple of weeks. But for some reason, when I like learn new champs, I feel like I struggle more than other people because I think I like over theorize it because I feel like I go to the extremes of things where it's like Zin's out, early game champion must do things early game. Udia farming level 4 champ must do that. And then like I can't find balances and stuff. And then when the situation doesn't call for it, I do really dumb things. It looks really dumb. Like, it looks ridiculous.
So you're saying that you have kind of like this mode that you're switched into. Once you're in that mode, you are just making decisions
based on that mode, but it's not free flow.
Rather than the game.
Rather than the game is correct.
Right.
It's like tunneled. It's like, this is the way you got to play this champ. But it says, relax, You know, you actually can just do a 5
Yeah,
camp.
you can actually
as-
just chill. Yeah.
and the
100%.
moment I started chilling, I had way more success in my game. So
So how long do you reckon it will take you for you to learn these champs to a level where you're comfortable to climb and go back to maybe that?
I think it'll
challenge?
take me a couple of weeks, and then maybe that I can start doing. But it's something that I don't want to just give up on. Like, it's like I still want to do that, but it's like I still am in the help myself before I can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not like I'm helping other people. I'm just like trying to like engage in conversation, learn more about other roles in the game and stuff. So that's my update. So it's pretty piss poor, but I guess I wouldn't even say that. I guess it's just
I think it's pretty
coincided
fair. Yeah, no, I
with
think,
me learning new champ pool with
Yeah, I
the
mean-
whole jungle like all the changes and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could be expected to add someone when you're learning a champion. It's just get your shit sorted.
Yeah, literally.
So yeah, so over the 2 weeks,
How'd you
I
go, Curtis?
only did it twice.
Okay.
So before we get into those two scenarios, let's break down maybe why. Like, I haven't thought about it really, why I chose not to.
Yeah.
But just upon reflection, thinking about it now, well, yeah, either A, my mistakes were so obvious that like I just didn't feel the need. I don't want to go into a conversation with someone when
You ended review, it's got nothing to do
I
with
played
them.
this lane so
Yeah.
incorrectly. This has nothing to do with you. This is all me. We shouldn't even be in the position that we were in mid game, even if like we could talk about something. There is no point. And
That's exactly the way I feel as well. Yeah.
like it felt wrong for me to even. I felt like I would disrespect him by asking him about it.
Yeah, that's what I felt. It's like, well, I already know why I lost this game. You know, I guess we're on the mode of like taking extreme responsibility
Right.
for our games,
Right.
which I think is really good. But I think that hinders us communicating with
but
others.
look, but
maybe.
look, if my mistakes, say I played a relatively straightforward early game, first 8 minutes, whatever it was, I probably would have really liked to add someone. But the mistakes for me, because again, over this past 2 weeks, I've been reintroducing Rumble and even like Galio. My early games haven't been clean. Like, I just know what my mistakes are. So I just haven't felt like my first 8 minutes haven't been good. So like I just didn't really feel the need to. Then, or another excuse is that the game was an absolute stomp and there was nothing to say.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, in hindsight, maybe I could have added someone and say, well done. You know, that's, I guess, catching myself out right now. It was a bit of a cop-out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that's a bit of a cop-out for me. Then I probably could have added someone and just give him a pat in the back in a way and be like, well done, you snowballed this lane really well. Talk about a dive that we did or whatever it was. So, yeah, I would say those are the two, I guess, limiting narratives that kind of prevented me from doing it. And I guess, look, maybe this is all just, we haven't done this before ever.
No.
It's been harder to do than I expected.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get into the next game and look at my own gameplay. But maybe this is all just like a defense mechanism from having to talk to someone in a way, because we're both relatively like,
Secluded.
yeah, like our approach to the game anyway and our process. Who knows? Now, I did. So there's there's a guy that I've been popping into in my games quite a lot. My first experience with him, I got my secondary role support. And I think I was playing, I can't remember, I think I was playing Bard or I think it was Alistar. Yeah, it was Alistar. And I just don't know the lane matchups, right? This guy was an 80 carry man. He was bot with me, and I don't know the matchups. And he was saying how, so what happened essentially is like, I thought we couldn't contest level 1, level 2. Because usually as Alistar, you can't really do anything till level 3. So my mentality was like, okay, let's just let them have the shove, and then we'll catch the wave under tower. Then like we can play off the bounce wave or something like that. And then I didn't go in at level 2, and he just went off. Like he just went off, right? The classic, you're fucking bad, what all this stuff. And he basically just like checked out of the game mentally and just like said, FF, get me out of this game, 15 minutes. And so I added him after the game. And I said, hey man, I just wanted to like learn more about that levels 1 and 2. What variables did what makes us be able to contest this at level 2? I thought we couldn't really fight till level 3. And he's saying, he said like, well, we got this at level 1. It was something about like we had the XP advantage or whatever it was. We should punish him at level 2. Like we have X matchup is X matchup. It's really good for us.
So you got level 2 first.
No, we could have.
Oh,
If I ordered the wave from level 1.
Yeah. So you get the little tile on spot.
Yeah, but I don't know. My mentality just wasn't in that. I mean, again, I just don't know the
Your
matchup.
mentality was just concede.
Yeah, it's like just concede. Let's get to level 3. That's like my approach with Alistar.
Wait, what were you versing again?
I can't remember the 80 carry matchup specifically.
That's pretty important. No, it's more the support matchup, isn't it?
I think it was also Nautilus.
Oh yeah, you can do
something
stuff,
like that.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, regardless if I can or can't, right? Like,
yeah.
Most of the time when I play Ali, which is probably wrong, right? I don't play support.
Against like Bard and stuff like that, like you get pummeled.
Right.
Or Senna.
Yeah,
God, Senna matchup.
But I think it was Jin, Nautilus was Ezreal, Ali.
Okay.
And I had the Ezreal. And I was like, if we come to lane at the same time, I don't want to contest. Like, I don't know, if Nautilus walks up and hooks me, I can't do shit. I mean, I guess I can proc my Aftershock, but I just didn't want to take damage.
Got it.
Anyway, regardless, I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't know. And I had a hypothesis, and in his eyes, it was wrong. Anyway, we like lost the trade, and I had to use both my pots, whatever it was. And then, he flipped. And anyway, after the game, I had him. I said, look, what did you see here? Why do we win this? He said some answer. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. Interesting. I didn't know that. Sorry about that. I just, it's my secondary role. And he said, and then he took a while to respond. He said, we went back and forth about the game specifics for about 2 or 3 messages. And he said, and I said, no, then he said, I'm sorry about getting angry. I can't control myself sometimes. That's what he said. He said something like along the lines of, I just can't control myself sometimes. I said, it's all good, man. Don't worry about it. I understand. I said that. Don't worry. It's all good. I understand. Then he was popping into my games a lot, but now I was mid lane and he was, the 80 carry again, and he was flipping it at the another support. Basically, nearly every single game I had this guy, he was flipping it at the support, like just going off from level 2, level 3, most games. And then I also had him on my friends list. I'm like, what's going on bot lane? Like he said, I asked him, are you okay? Like, was there anything I could have done to help you bot lane this game? And he said, no, just support was just trash. Always get trash supports or something like that, right? And then I said, do you think that your expectations are too high for these SoloQ supports? Like, how do they know that you want to play the lane like this? He said, I think he said, he just said something like, I'm so angry all the time when I play. They should know how to play they should just know how to play the matchup. And then I started to probe him. Now, this is where things got interesting because I thought that at this point they would just stop replying, but for some reason he kept replying back to me. So I was like, and I said, out of interest, man, have you always gotten angry like through your league journey to get to this point? Were you always angry at your support, or was it something you got when you got to high elo? He said, I've always been angry at my supports, right?
Because it's technically gotten him results.
Yeah, which is because I thought that maybe he developed the anger when he got to high, when I think he's like low grammar. I think he's like 300 LP, 300 LP. And because maybe he developed it because his expectations were so much higher when he got higher elo, but no, apparently he's just always been toxic, right? I said, like, why do you think that is? And he said something along the lines of, he can't stand when like supports don't know, like when they're shit or something like that. So can't stand shit supports, something like that. It was like, I don't know what to say. I just didn't know what to say. And I just kind of said, fair enough. And I just, I didn't know how to proceed the conversation. Because he was brutally honest. Like, you just said that. I don't know how to deal with it. And I was like, what? I genuinely, I felt lost at the end of that conversation. Because I kind of wanted to learn more. But then I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I kind of lost track of why I'm even adding this guy.
Got it.
Because I think at the point when I first did, I'm like, I kind of want to understand and make him feel okay that, like, apologize for, like, my mistake. Maybe that does something, develops a relationship. Because maybe then he would stop doing it in future games. But he would still do it no matter what. And flame out my support. So I just didn't have a support. Every game I play with him, I just don't have a support. Because the support's just checked out. It says, report this guy, please, after the game. He does it every game.
He reduces his
chances of winning. That's the reason. Like, if he was actually just focused on himself, he could probably be a significant, like 300 LP higher than he is.
Maybe that's a question you should have posed to him afterwards. Like, what happens if you didn't do this? Do you think you have a better chance of winning the game?
Yeah, I mean, that probably is a great question. But then got me thinking, like, he's aware of his anger. Like, he's aware of it. It's not like he does it as like a... Like he even
It's
said,
like a reaction thing. It's like
Yeah.
this is his identity.
like he actually is aware that he has this problem.
Mm.
But it's like I can't do anything about it. I thought that maybe he would change his behavior in the games that he had me in it, but it didn't have any effect.
Crazy.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, look, maybe I could have gone a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I don't know. And then, so that was that. And that was, I was like, I mean, I thought he wouldn't even add me, first of all.
Mhm.
So props to him for actually accepting me.
After you just
And actually saying sorry that he got, so props to him for actually saying sorry.
Mm.
I mean, I said, it's all good, man. I understand. People get angry.
Mm.
It just didn't lead to anything.
So that was your first situation, was it?
That was my first. I had another one, but it was like a very small interaction. So like we messed up a gank. It was like a classic level 3, level 4, and I just messed it up. I didn't use my CC at the right time. I went too early. He got compensated, and we should never have done the gank in the first place. And because I added him, and I think I said I apologized to him. I said sorry, I should have called this gank off, and then he said, nah, it's my bad. I should have hit my W or whatever it was. I said no, trust me, the gank's is bad. It never works because like you don't need to do this. It was just like a nice short sharp thing. He's like, oh good man, something like that. It was actually pretty healthy. It was like a nice little short sharp interaction, and he was trying to say sorry, but then I said sorry because like it was actually my fault. It wasn't his fault. He thought it was his fault, but it wasn't. And just letting him know I should have called that, pinged that off. It's not my identity in that game. And anyway, yeah, that was basically my 2 interactions. That one was very wholesome. That second one, sorry. And that's it. So I needed those 2 across the 2 weeks. So look, I'll be honest with you. I kind of lost track about why I'm doing this. Like why
We sort of just said on the podcast, let's just do it.
Let's just do it. And in terms of what I got out of that, I mean, it did feel good in a way to add the guy that we had that short, sharp interaction. It's like I felt good for letting him know that it wasn't his fault. Like it was more of like but I feel selfish for doing it in a way because it felt like I'm doing it for myself. Like it feels like I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for myself to make myself feel better because I'm doing a good deed. Like it doesn't come from a right place. If that makes sense. It's like people who donate to the poor to make themselves feel better.
Got it.
Rather than doing out of genuinely want to help.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
That's how it felt.
Got it.
Like I didn't have a good feeling doing that. Like it felt good, but then upon reflection, I'm like, am I doing this genuinely? Like it didn't feel good because it was like an experiment, is what I'm saying. It's like experiment to do a good deed to see how good we feel or something. I don't know. So there's that part of it. It's a bit icky for me. I just don't feel. It just doesn't feel me. Like it doesn't feel genuine.
Yeah.
There's that part of it.
Okay.
But again, maybe that's just a defense mechanism and I'm just trying to overcomplicate doing a good deed. I don't know. Because it's against my nature. I've never done this sort of thing before. But the second one with that dude who just, lost the plot or whatever, the first guy, it kind of made me feel, what was the point of this? It's not like I impacted his behavior. Or maybe I just didn't ask the right quality questions. Maybe I just didn't have that much of an influence in him. It just didn't matter. Maybe I could have structured my sentences in a way, or maybe I should have asked him to come on voice chat.
Yeah, voice chat.
Voice chat would have been very interesting. Because voice chat is different. That's that next level. Add him on Discord and have a chat with him. That's brutal. That's hard to do.
Especially after.
Maybe I just need to step it up, man. Maybe I do.
I think I need.
Maybe I just need to get uncomfortable and just like get in a call with one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I need to do this as well. I can't use the excuse of my gameplay. So we're going to give you more updates.
Yeah. So we'll put a pin in this one, I guess.
Yeah, putting a pin on that
and then come back to this one. I think this can be interesting if we do it properly. I don't think either of us, I mean, I'm the only one who did it, but I don't think I even did it properly. So we'll put a pin in it. We'll continue to experiment around. I think there's definitely some findings there. We just got to go a little bit deeper. Yep. Moving on.
All right, so the next one here, there was this tweet that was linked to me by this player called Yami. Yami Kazex Z is his Twitter.
Is that the Talon player?
I think he's a content creator, yeah.
Is he the Talon one trick?
I think he might be, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, what was the tweet?
It's like a tweet longer. So
Okay, tweet longer, yeah.
So this is experience, Korean Bootcamp. So the title of this is called Korean Bootcamp and Mental Health.
Okay.
And I thought this was interesting to highlight in terms of people that might be thinking about Korean boot camps. We talked about the good old SoloQ MLA potential Korean boot camp. Well, I mean, you know, we've got some experience with boot camp. How many Korean boot camps have we gone on? I mean,
we've done at least
we did 5, I think.
4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah. But I mean, I can't really say I boot camp because I played SoloQ a little bit, but I wasn't a pro player.
Right.
Like, I didn't play the game.
Yeah.
You know? You played SoloQ.
Yeah, one of them.
On one of them. So even still, not that much,
yeah.
right? We haven't done like a boot camp like ourselves, you know.
No.
So I guess that we can't really relate maybe entirely, but I think we have some good experiences. All right, so this is from him. Hi, I'm in Korea at the moment to stream League. I'm heading back early, so figured I'd write about my experience. Read if you're interested. Korean SoloQ. I'm sure this has all been said a million times from previous Korean boot camps, but I'll write my thoughts. First, everyone above gold/plat has insane mechanics. I played through Smurf Q, so not completely sure where this starts. 40% of the plat players I played with have better mechanics than the average NA Masters/Grandmaster player, especially the ADCs. Every game is an ADC gap. Every Kai'Sa Jinx Ezreal 1v9s, even if they don't main ADC. Every mage has undodgeable skill shots. It was much harder to rely on sheer mechanics to climb like you can in a lot of lower elo NA games. Korea SoloQ has a fundamental culture difference from NA. Players generally tend to play more as a team. If someone wants to limit test an int, the rest of the team will always follow. If I ping my jungle to try a mid gank, they'll always come and attempt a gank, regardless of how it fucks their path. It's not uncommon to see laners walk to your lane to hold away for you. Junglers will always give blue if you ask. One jungler got mad at me for not taking blue. Generally, players play more for the team than individual leads. NO is an ego cringe fest. Guys, I'm completely quoting this, okay? This is not how I would talk, all right? We're going to interpret. We're going to break down the language, okay?
Yeah.
All of this makes SoloQ a much better experience, generally up until D4, D1. This elo range is pretty famous for being elo hell in Korea. All the inters, no-lifes, item sellers, etc. who play 20 games a day are all in this elo. It's a really miserable experience. Games are 90% coin flip regardless of how well you play. Small leads from better control, vision control don't really matter. 60% of your teammates will go 20-0 or 0-20. People play through 10 to 20 loss streaks, sell items in base of 10 minutes, first time champs in ranked. Autofill and OPGG stalking decides most games. Diamond is similar in other regions where it's much harder to carry Diamond games than it is to carry GM Plus games. But in my experience on NA, it's really so much worse on Korea. Players absolutely refuse to be carried, and you can easily tell that 10 to 20% of the players in the game don't care about winning. So many games start with enemy player randomly running it down level 1, troll support picks that either go 20-0 or 0-20, or just decided in chance select in general. I really think individual skill matters very little in this elo range. All that matters is your mental and willingness to dodge as many lobbies as it takes to get games without griefers or hard int autofill. Then you will climb automatically through the sheer amount of players on the enemy team who will be selling items or griefing autofill. I can't speak for higher elos than this as I peaked D120 LP. I don't think I played well for reasons I'll explain in a bit. I also think I'm washed up from 1.5 years of streaming NA Diamond and playing for content. I could barely end Chow last season while getting duo boosted. The previous paragraph isn't meant as an excuse for why I couldn't climb higher. It's just to explain how D4, D1 here is. Anyone who's bootcamped here would probably agree. Going on to the Korean bootcamp. At the moment, Korea has a 2-week mandatory quarantine at hotel. To avoid this, you need a long-term visa. I don't really need to go on this. This is just about just the quarantine.
Yep.
Apparently, they had to like pay for the quarantine. That's pretty brutal.
You do, don't you? I thought you
that?
always did.
Oh, I think you always did, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Ethernet and stuff, his internet was disastrous. All right, so after quarantine, I arrived at my apartment, took a few days to get everything set up. Then I grinded League for 12 hours a day and didn't talk to anyone in real life for 1.5 months straight, aside from meeting some streamers for a few hours. Everyone who comes to Korea talks about the mental toll of grinding League and isolation.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really underestimated how fast my mental would decline here. Traveling alone to a foreign country, not seeing anyone and playing solo queue for 12 hours a day for almost 2 months is quite brutal. I literally would not recommend coming here without a group of friends. I knew a lot of people here, met a lot of really nice people, but even then people are busy and a lot of the time in Korea are pretty hesitant to meet up IRL. Riot Korea gave me a creator account, meaning it had base MMR of Silver 4. I got instantly put in Smurf queue after one game, took around 60 to 80 games to get out. Riot really outdid themselves with Smurf queue. That shit is completely unplayable and I'll never willingly climb a Smurf ever again. Most of you know, but every game is legit random matchmaking between Silver Diamond players. By the time I was out, I had already fucked my mental and built a lot of really bad habits from Smurf queue. I took a 3-week break from League before starting here, 1 week in NA, 2 weeks in quarantine. When I got kicked out of Smurf queue, I was in D2, D1 MMR. Things seemed pretty good, but I made the mistake of streaming games in Diamond Elo range. Streaming in general makes it so hard to climb. I have a lot of respect for streamers who are able to maintain high ranks on stream, especially with Mike and Cam. Again, the thing about career Diamond is I really think that skill doesn't matter as much as mental and willingness to dodge. Streaming and reading chat in-game, plus reluctance to dodge target bans, item sellers, hard off-roll, and having a general mentality of grinding games instead of keeping mental and dodging make climbing very difficult. I know it sounds like hard copium, and it probably is to an extent, but I really didn't feel outclassed by any players in the Elo range. D1 career felt like GM/NA at best. I didn't really have the discipline to play off stream and spam dodge games to climb out. I realized, of course, that I had to climb off stream pretty quickly. So I'd climb, but he said that he didn't want to climb off stream because he went there for content, right? So it was pretty screwed up for him. He had nothing else to solo queue to do there, played 12 to 16 hours a day, regardless of his alertness. I gave up after losing 1 to 2 weeks of off-stream progress in a bunch of 15 FFs in stream. My mental too weak. I came to Korea to experience Korean solo queue and have a nice little vacation from NA. Honestly, experiencing the Korean culture of griefing has really helped me appreciate the great NA streamer server. A lot of Koreans don't see selling items, so just again going on habits about thing. I think what really sealed the deal was when I realized that it didn't really matter what rank I hit here. Days of grinding off stream don't mean anything, as even if I hit GM+, I have to no cam mic all of my games. As a streamer, it's just so pointless to play, win and climb, and the stress of taking so much time off stream plus isolation plus Korean solo queue just messed me up. So he head back early. He says I should have prepared more for Korea, brought some friends along, improved more off stream while in NA. But Korea was a spontaneous decision for me. I was on the verge of quitting League / Twitch because I really hated NA solo queue, and Korea was just something I've always wanted to do and wanted to experience and get out of the way. And I'm okay with that. I'm not disappointed in myself as I had a feeling something like this would happen. I don't regret the trip at all. Yada, yada, yada. So we're reading John Wooden Curtis. Okay?
Oh, here we go, dude.
So we're
like
in the BBC Book Club.
I can't. Look, I'm sorry. I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But it's like... It's very hard to listen to that.
It is very difficult.
Very hard.
It was even... I don't even think we should have read it out.
No.
You know?
It's like some... It's kind of like some people... It's just like you just shouldn't have an opinion, you know?
Yeah, well...
In a way. Like, I want to break this down. We are.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It really is hard. Because we're... The way I'm viewing this whole thing, Nathan, what you just read, is like we're already kind of... And this is going to sound terrible, and I'm probably going to get roasted, but we're already kind of... Like, he is not in a healthy mindset heading into a boot camp.
That's right.
You know, he's not... He doesn't seem like a very high-functioning, high-level individual that is trying to push himself, better himself, and make the most of the experience. It's just not. You're not heading there for the right reasons, first of all.
It was just like... I got to do it, and you know, NA sucks, and like I can really test my skills in Korea.
Like, look, for anyone that is high, before we get into this, and I see where you're going with this, but you got to understand that if you're not already high elo, for these people, like, yes, you can improve, you can increase the speed of your improvement. But you could easily have improved like that in NA. If he's struggling to get challenged, he couldn't even get challenges solo queue and NA. There's no, it's not, it's nothing to
It
do
makes
with
perfect
anyone.
sense
It makes
where he
perfect sense
was.
why you struggle. You're a diamond player, period. You are one of them, and he couldn't accept that he is, but he is a diamond player because he's been playing in diamond in NA,
and the moment that
diamond in Korea.
the moment that you struggle in a rank, then focusing on all these things he talks about, that's because that becomes you have to find some reason why you're there, right?
You got to find a reason, yeah.
and you'll overemphasize those things.
Yep.
So, I've been doing some. So we've been reading John Wooden,
Yep.
right, in our Broken by Conceptual
Yep.
Club, right?
So John Wooden, the UCLA coach. Yep.
And I've been doing some extra content research on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw one of his interviews. I think this was with Tony Robbins, and he said,
Did John Wooden do an interview with Tony Robbins
when Tony Robbins was like 29 years old.
Oh,
or something.
wow. That's so cool.
It's really cool. And he said, the more you get involved with things that are out of your control, it has an adverse negative effect on the things that you can control. So, talking about all these things about like inters and griefers and stuff like that, that huge focus on that actually just completely blinds you from the things that are now in your control, which is your level of play. Like, I'm sure any professional like ADC player, challenger, even NA challenger player, I think I don't know, is he a mid laner or something? I think
I'm pretty sure he's a talent player.
Okay,
Yeah,
they could review his games and point out really basic mistakes that he's just messing up, right? But like you see how that whole thing, like there's nothing really in there of that, And he sort of did as well say it's like he didn't really try that hard. Like already, if you're not try hard in NA solo queue, like it's just going to be a terrible experience for you there, because it doesn't have to be, but it will be because of your sort of relationship with the game, sort of what we talk a lot about on the podcast, right? Because he's already like, like I don't want to bother with all the solo queue, like the solo queue contract. I mean, a lot of things he talks about there, we talk about in the solo queue contract. That's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Like it may be a bit different in Korea. And maybe people like, but that's really, you experience that. Everyone experiences that. It's part of what you
Well, the way I view it is just, Korea is just a heightened version of it. So the less process oriented you are, and the less intense and the less you focus on your schedule, having your review process, the less you do that, the worse experience you will have in Korean solo queue. Because you are going to get beat up like that.
And then you'll be focusing a lot on what's out of your control.
Yep.
And the moment you start focusing on that, then everything just goes downhill, and then you'll explode.
Because first of all, I can speak from experience. I climbed from a fresh MMR, 0, not boosted MMR account in Korea in season 8. Season 8.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
I was a mid laner, and I learned support. I learned a new role from 0 rank, level 30, all the way to, unranked to diamond 1. Right? Now, during this time, yes, he's spot on. You get the classic people running it down, so on and so forth. But the game is very different. So the way I interpret a lot of the things he said is that he was not adapting to the way the games were played out. So yes, there are level 1 skirmishes that decide the game. Yes, there are people who will die once, then sell their items and 15 FF, whatever, and open. Yes, that is the case. But you can influence, you can turn the tides. That's why when I went to Korea, I would play the very early aggressive. I was playing Pike and Bard. I was roaming everywhere. Or if I did play mid, I would play champions that would facilitate that. You can turn the tides of the game. He was probably playing, okay, I'm playing this champion. I'm going to play this game. I'm not adapting to anything that is happening around me. If they die at level 1, let them die. No, you got to be there, and you got to go to those fights that aren't good for you, and you got to turn the tides. All this stuff's going to happen. This is your ability to adapt. The game is played very differently in Korea, and I had to switch that mentality. And then when I came back to OS, the games were very different. I couldn't play the Pike and the Bard like I was playing it in Korea. I just couldn't. There was not enough fights, and we were just stuck in an isolated 2v2, and I couldn't do jack shit. So yes, there's region differences in the way they play out the game, and he did not adapt. And rather than adapting, he was blaming all of these externals
Out of his control.
Yep.
And that adaptation part, that process should be fun. Like we talk about having like a process, right? Like I remember when I got into SoloQ there, like I was just having a blast, man. Like it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love it.
And like I was like really out of the game then as well because I didn't play, right? And it's like just that learning process. You've just got to love the learning process. The thing about this is like, yeah, like when someone like breaks down their experience like this, like there's no respect. Again, I always just say that
No respect for the game.
No respect for the game. No respect for the learning process. Apparently, you're good or you're bad. That's it. That's all the people's mindset is when they go in there, right? You know, and like he probably was tryharding, you know, when he first like, I'm going to really try hard and stuff. But that doesn't matter when you don't have a process or you don't have respect for the learning process.
Yeah, because what does trying versus not trying look like?
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Exactly right.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Nothing's different. I know you look at your mini-map a little bit more or something. I don't know.
Well, I guess like for them, it's probably like not giving up quickly, you know?
Right,
like,
not
trying to
FFing.
win, yeah, you know?
Not giving up after one
Which
death.
is quite ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it should like trying should be like more like focusing on like a learning objective and like...
Well, going over as a content creator is very different.
That
as
too,
well.
and he should have understood his
He should have understood
expectations.
that. He went in blind and he got destroyed. Yeah, like that is brutal. And I do empathize with that because being a content creator and playing Korean SoloQ for the first time, as someone that couldn't even hit Challenger in NA, you know, that, and with all those high expectations of his own gameplay, it's like the perfect potion for just mental destruction.
He was going to quit.
He was already on the borderline fringe of quitting in NA, let alone going to create. You're going into the most intense, hardcore, mentally taxing environment. And I think I do resonate as well. We felt this when we went to Korea. When you're there for like a month, like once you get to like 4 weeks mark, you want, like for us, you were the same, right? You just wanted to kind of like, I missed just speaking English with other and having social interactions with other people. Like I just felt isolated.
I mean, the isolation aspect, I mean, that's just not healthy.
No.
Especially, and then you top that with the mental...
But in a way, it's kind of worse than lockdown.
Yeah,
because
it's worse.
Lockdown is like, you kind of understand why you're not having social interaction. But when you're overseas for an extended period of time, you don't speak the language. You're like, you go to a shop and like there's zero interaction. Like you buy a smoothie and like you just feel like they're just ignoring you as if you're like, don't exist.
You're like an alien.
Like an alien. I feel like, what is this about? Like... And I feel like there's actually inherent disrespect sometimes. That's how I felt. A lot of the places in Korea, they actually didn't like foreigners in a way. That's something I didn't understand coming from Australia because we're such a multicultural country. Like it felt like we're Korean, it's like one culture, isn't it? It's like there's the Korean
just
culture.
Korea,
There's Korea.
Yeah.
There's no like they don't really have it's not multicultural whatsoever. So then, like you have an Aussie coming in, like ordering something at like a cafe, like a star, like I just don't feel like, oh, have a nice day. You know, there's none of that. They don't even want to try. It's just like, just take your food, take your thing, and just, that's it.
Yeah. They definitely felt that vibe.
And I got like a psychologically over a long, you know, when you're there for 4 or 5 weeks, it takes a toll. Like that's how I felt. And I just wanted to get out after that period of time. But up until that point, it's a blast.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good fun.
It's hard. It definitely is hard. Yeah, when you're there, it's just like again.
So
just
imagine that he's living by himself. Yeah. He already wasn't prepared mentally. He doesn't have a SoloQ process. He wasn't prepared mentally. Not in a good space. He had to do the quarantine, which is a pain in the ass. That dude, he has literally ticked every box.
You're not going to be able to survive.
Explode.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. Yeah, you're just not gonna survive.
I mean, he could have come to us and we would have said, "This is not going to work from the get go."
No,
and literally said, "This is exactly."
I could have a minute conversation with him and say, "This is not for you."
Nah.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Holy moly! But it's so interesting though how he kind of talks about NA and like a positive light after. It's so fascinating.
I don't know. Was that a sarcastic comment?
Was it?
I think maybe it was a sarcastic comment.
Because he was saying saying a lot of stuff in NA about egos, right? Was that what he was saying?
Yeah.
And then he was saying how it's actually good because you could just stream a life. No one cares if you play bad. Is that what he's saying? Like I didn't get what he meant by that.
No, I'm not sure either.
So, yeah. So what was the main thing? What did you want to take away from that, dude? Because that's just for me.
This is just normal. Like we just know this is going to
happen. Oh, it just hurts. I mean, I feel bad for spreading that message in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is our opinion on the message, right? Like, I mean, this is obviously we read it out and stuff. I mean, what I wanted to be like, okay, warn people. These are the reasons of what happens when you go to Korean Bootcamp. Secondly, again, reiterating what happens when you don't have a respect for learning the learning process.
Okay, a better question than Nathan would be, what could he have done to better prepare himself for pre and solo queue?
That's a very good question. And that's another one thing I think that we should cover. So
if we were to do one.
So step number one, you shouldn't go there unless you get challenger on your server. Is that good step one preparation?
No, I don't think so.
Or is that fine? You can be dumb and go there.
No, you can. No, I believe if you're, as long as you're above above gold, if you're platinum above, you can go and it will improve. It will speed up the process.
Okay.
But yes, the higher you are, the more value you will get. So a platinum 4, right, could theoretically go and they would get more improvement. I do believe, but you'll get more value the higher you get. So like a diamond 4 will get more value than a platinum player, but then a diamond 1 will get much more value, and then a grandmaster will get insane value, and then a challenger will get the most value. So the higher you go, the more value you will get from a Korean bootcamp.
Yeah, I guess I'm scared for players under challenger because they could easily fall into this trap of like blaming all the externals.
Right.
That's the thing, because when you're like, I think that's where that's why it goes, because if you're not very confident in your gameplay and you're like already a pro player, you won't give a shit about all these things that he spoke about.
Right, it's a given.
Because
like
it's
you're
like,
already past
yeah,
that.
you're like, you don't care about like, like I'm just going to just dominate my opponent, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's why I default to that, but I think you're right. I mean,
I think anyone could.
Anyone
as long as your relationship with the game is good.
Yeah, you need to have a good relationship in the game. Yeah, I mean, you'll learn a lot. I think it will be great.
Well, it speeds up the process.
I mean, even the act of a boot camp. I mean, very few people like boot. If you're not a professional player, you're not really boot camping.
No.
The act of like you're only going to place for SoloQ, that's pretty cool.
It's cool, yeah. If you care, it's like a hobby, right? If you care about your hobby a lot and you want to get better at it, it will definitely do it, and it's a fun experience.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say that? I mean, you got to have a process. If your process isn't nailed down already, you just can't. You're not going to go because you're not going to figure it out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you would have to have it beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, what would a great process look like? So I still wouldn't be playing more than 3 blocks.
Okay, so first things first, you would have to come in with the mentality.
Gym would be important.
Yeah, gym would be important, but you would have to come in with the mentality that it's like there are certain things that you know are important for your success. And like, okay, for example, you would have had the requirement should be that you stuck to a process and you've gotten a solid result already in one of our programs. So you're a SoloQ member and you've gotten from X rank, like, climbed a few divisions, same as a Midland Academy. You had to have done something, stuck to a process or a schedule, and then gotten solid results.
You know what it looks like to
intentionally
improve.
Yes, intentionally improve.
Not just play and just a lot and just improve
and know how these things contributed to that improvement. I had to have felt it, right? And so when you have a process, you're going to start to realize, okay, this is important. This is very important to me. I got to play in these. I got to pay this amount of block of time. In Korea, you're going to be able to play more games. Remember, you're not playing blocks of 3. You're probably playing blocks of 5 or 6, maybe.
Because you can focus for that
right?
period of time.
Because it's the same block of time.
Yeah.
You're playing more games, but you got to still, you're going to have reviews, but they're going to be shorter reviews because the games are much shorter. You're going to realize, okay, physical. I need to exercise between this amount of games. I need to get this amount of sleep. I need to eat this sort of food. Like you should at least know what your body needs as well and what your mind needs to stay focused. I think that's a requirement as well, because when you get there, if you don't really have an idea and you start shitting the bed in terms of, I can't stay focused, all these things are distracting you. You're going to get pulled in. Kind of go for him, dude. You're going to get pulled into the depths very quickly. If you struggle with toxicity and tilting, no. Don't even bother.
Yeah.
If you struggle with tilting and if you're tilting in your own server, your own rank, and you can't control your emotions and you're going on huge loss streaks, not for you either. So in terms of better preparing yourself, get involved. Yeah, get that process done.
I think writing out a rough schedule would be
rough
good.
schedule. Yeah.
This is the time I'll wake up. This is the time I'll gym. Shoot your SoloQ before gym.
Yep.
These are the times I'll eat. That's really important, I think.
Yeah, the eating.
You got to and look at like the place you're going to and look at like maybe restaurants around and like even the place that you're at. Like, does it have a kitchen? Can you cook your own food?
Well, because the dangerous thing when you're playing when you don't have a schedule in Korean SoloQ, it's so tempting to just play again.
Yeah, it is.
Like I'll just play again, make up for it, play again. You just because it's an open.
Discipline's got to be so important.
You think you're going to be addicted in where you are now when you go to Korea. It's very easy to get sucked into that whole addiction.
Yeah,
it gets messy quick.
Like imagine like if like a block and like focus, like you like end it with like 2 games that like are just decided by level 1. You're gonna want to keep playing.
Yeah,
but you got to stop.
Yeah, you got to stop. You're gonna have these 2 losses. Yep.
Yeah.
When it's over at level 1.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
The camera battery just died, so we got to change the camera.
All right.
All right. So I think we're done with this topic anyway, are we? You can think about some more. I'll quickly change the battery. We'll be back in a second.
So continuing on with the Korean Bootcamp. So look, I think we've covered a lot when it comes to Korean Bootcamps. We'll go
preparation.
We'll probably talk about this closer to the time, or we definitely will.
Yeah.
Because it's inevitable we're going to do one.
Yeah.
At some point, but having a group of people as well, like-minded.
Yeah, like-minded. That you can like review together
and
because at the end of the day,
you reflect and talk over lunch. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
You have lunch together, and you go to the whatever, have breakfast in the morning. You just chat about what am I focusing on.
These are things I'm noticing in my games.
What we also found in Direwolves, what I loved is when we broke up the days with like those sessions. Remember Nathan?
Oh, with Jono.
Yeah, those were awesome. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like so, you do your SoloQ block. And
more mindset sessions.
It's like a mindset session. So we'll kind of like go up there. We'll do like a breakdown of a certain topic.
Mm.
And just, and it's just really good to refresh. And you get back in when you're ready to go. And it's like, I feel like those are super important as well. Just remember, and just the out of game concepts, just reminding like these are really important because you just get so sucked into it very, very quickly. The whole like
you can get
all the
lost.
stuff that he was talking about.
Get lost, like you get lost in the SoloQ.
You do
15 hours a day. It's terrible.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like there's no improvement going on at that point. You're just playing to play.
Yep. And so TLD. But by the way, like when you listen to that whole thing, like how Diamond is made up of, it's just no skill, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
The argument from a logical standpoint it just completely falls apart as soon as you're like, okay, let's get an LCK player. You think they're gonna, if skill doesn't matter, are they gonna be stuck in Diamond?
No, they'll be rocketing through it. They might be stuck there maybe a little bit longer than maybe expect. At the end of the day, I mean, you can tell from a player. I mean, this is just a professional. This guy's really good at the game.
If you're better than the average player over time,
yes,
and you're not one of those people that ruin games,
yeah,
you're gonna get out, right? Because it will even out. It's like you're always gonna have these people on your team, so it just doesn't make sense. So you have to be contributing to it.
It's using percentages like 90% of the time this is happening, or 60% of the time it's not how it works. That doesn't make logically sense because that means that's happening. Well, I guess he's saying that it's like 60% of the time there's going to be a 0-20 or 0 or 20-0 ball out on either team.
But that's a null factor then.
Yeah.
If it's 50-50, then it doesn't matter.
Well, then let's focus on the 40% of games that you're in control.
That's it. I don't know, man. So, I think we covered that one. Moving on.
So you had a guy, Curtis, that you were telling me about. I thought that was very interesting. Because you asked Nathan, do you review team play?
Right. Yep.
In SoloQ. And I said, not really. No, I sort of try and steer away from reviewing competitive. Reason being that, I'm more of a SoloQ coach. I sort of just don't like... I'm all about improvement. I don't believe you can improve from a competitive environment unless you're already a very high ELO challenger player. Like that's like step number 1.
Right.
Because you just get worse as a player.
Okay, let's get more specific here because we talk about this a lot. We talk about how scrims make a player worse, the importance of SoloQ, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last week I had my first 2 competitive reviews. Both Master Plus.
In the Midlane
Academy. EU, one was a GM player, Tim. His name's Tim, Mysterious. And then Nox. And I think he plays in one of those Prime Leagues. There's heaps of divisions in the Prime League. There's a German one, I think. Anyway. First of all, I'm going to talk about the first one here, which was with Tim. And he was playing the classic Victor versus Oriana matchup. And we're watching it. And... it was just played very strange. So it was obvious that Tim here, he had he had a huge advantage mechanically. Like he was much better mechanically than this guy. But he altered the way he played the lane just because it was competitive. And he was in this competitive match. And he was like, you could tell he was super nervous and he was shitting himself. You know, there was that whole thing there, right? And and it was just, this is just not how the matchup should go. Like, this is not how, if he were to play, he knows in a vacuum that this is not how to play the matchup. But because he's coming in with that, you know, you're nervous, it's like a competitive game and everyone's playing conservatively, the game just gets played differently.
There's a different feel going into it. Everyone's on comms and like you've had like a draft and you've talked about it. It's a different feeling.
Different feel. And so first of all, I want to break down specific why we see games play out differently in scrims or no, let's say not scrims. This is legit stage game first.
Okay. So
we're going to go talk about stage game for a second and then we're going to talk about scrims.
Okay.
Now, so when it comes to stage games, you got to, let's look at a very specific micro situation. Now, let's say in solo queue, you would be more aggressive and you would actually go for this queue. Like, you're not really concerned about whether it hit or not. You're just going to go for this queue because you just want to burn through some of your mana and you kind of want to do something. You feel like you're more in control of the game. So you're going to take more aggressive trades. You're going to posture more aggressively and you're actually going to trust your instincts to dodge a lot more effectively. So rather than stepping backwards, you're going to maybe step to the right and trade back rather than instantly stepping backwards. But what happens in competitive a lot of the time, it's not every time, but especially in the amateur levels, people just bitch it and either they won't throw the skill shot and they're like, oh, you know, I might as well just wait. You know, my jungler's doing something else or they're overthinking it, or they'll just posture a lot more defensively. They don't trust their movement as much because, you know, don't want to ruin the game. You don't want to, you know, they don't want to do something too crazy. So if you expand this out, this exact interaction over minute after minute after minute in every lane, when people would, if you would compare this exact matchup in a solo queue game, I would say there's a solid 50% less trading, 40% less trading.
That's big.
It's huge. So therefore, when there's less trading, what does it mean for junglers? There's less opportunities.
Yep.
So when there's less opportunities, the games are slower because the games are generally dictated by junglers.
It's like now you can't invade.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of got to stick to just clearing your camps.
Yep, you can't invade. Yep, that's right. So it's mainly full clears and more like big skirmishes and team fights. There's less chaotic 2v2s. It's a lot slower. Now, this is also why people default to playing scaling champions. For example, he very rarely played. He's like a Pantheon mid main, right? And then like the comp that he had like a Sejuani. There's like all shitty champs. Like, when do you ever see a Sejuani and like a Trundle and like a Victor Oriana? And it was like a full scaling team
what
fight. What
season are we in here?
Is this like back in season 6?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And he slowly lost this game, right? I'm like, what did you learn from this? Like, we walk away, I'm like, well, not much. I mean, I know this is not how the lane's meant to be played out. This is not really how I want to play League of Legends, and this is how I don't play like this in solo queue. So yes, I'm sure you could get better at your team fighting with your team and talk about a few team shit, but you're not actually getting better individually whatsoever. This game has nothing to do with you. And I'm saying, why? First of all, your team's not even really not going to get that much better because at that point, this win has nothing to do with you as an individual. This is team versus team at this point now. It's like who has the better scaling champions or who can play those team fights better. Why don't you just flip the script? I said to him, why don't you just play a super chaotic, exactly, you get your support to play Bard, who he normally plays in solo queue. You play your Pantheon, pair that with a crazy aggressive jungle like a Rumble, and just play the game like you guys do as individuals, balls to the wall. I would much rather you lose in a competitive game in 15, 20 minutes than slowly lose a 40-minute team fight.
Yeah.
Just go for that.
It's a scaling
but
team.
People just don't do that. They just don't do that. And then, so the skill set that you develop a lot of the time in competitive, in solo queue, it's not being translated. They don't give themselves the ability to translate the lead or translate that skill set. Sorry. So then I was talking I was more talking about more competition concepts with him, like beat him to the punch, that stuff like that. Anyway, and then with Nox, he was playing a Zoe versus Jace mid. He took Electrocute Ignite, and he had a Xin Zhao jungle. And this Jace went a very greedy. He went Conqueror with TP. And he just kept playing for Prio. Just cue the wave again, cue the wave again, cue the wave again. Not interact, cue the wave again. And I asked him, it's not how you play Zoe in SoloQ, is it? You know, we would probably bounce the wave out, call our jungler to come mid, a mobile champion, we can just flash bubble and go for a kill. He's like, no, he said, my jungle likes playing for bot. My team likes playing for bot lane, so they just want me to be a Prio bot. So I just want to play for Prio. And I just got very specific. Like, okay, on this wave, you got priority, but what did you get with this? What specifically did you get with it? Nothing. Zinzao didn't get anything because Zinzao couldn't even go bot. So nothing happens. And you just kind of slowly miss opportunities and coin flip a mid-game.
Slowly fall behind in CS.
Yep, because there's always a trade-off, right? For hard shoving, hard shove, you're going to miss CS. Something's going to, shit's going to hit the fan. And I'm like, well, why don't you take a step back for a second and ask yourself, what's the alternative? What could you do here? I mean, if theoretically you could bounce this wave and easily win the 2v2 here, why don't we do this? And it's like, I mean, I guess we could, yeah, but yeah, my team likes playing bot side. I'm a Prio bot, right? So again, we're playing differently to how we would play to SoloQ for no real reason. And whoever has the loudest voice in the team, whether it may be your top laner or your jungler or your AD carry, they're going to dictate the way the game is played. So you're going to come in and then you're basically, again, getting very little learning. All you're getting is learning how to team fight a little bit better, which you could even get that in SoloQ anyway. And we're just wasting time, getting worse. Because a good player wouldn't do that.
And part of you as well, you feel like it's not the right thing. I'm sure he would feel like it's weird to...
Well, that's why he submitted. He's like, something's going wrong here.
Something's going wrong. And then what happens is like... Then sometimes it's weird, like with your team as well, you can sort of like... I want to say like get gaslighted a little bit. Like you'll lose like confidence and like get blamed for things and like... Because the thing about it is they might not be... Like they might feel it's like, why is my Zoe weak? And then it's like, well, he's not saying anything. It's like... He must just suck, but it's like he wants to say something, but he doesn't. It's like then all these dynamics come in, and the team will just explode, right? So like, and then that's just like a huge waste of time as well, because now you've lost confidence for no reason, for literally no reason at all. Yeah, and like there's so many actual aspects as well. It's like you're not improving, but you're also there's still this bullshit you're dealing with. Like
it's a team dynamics.
Yeah, it's like
okay. Let's actually break down then. Some of the bullshit that you would have to deal with. Okay. So I said, look, you're going to have to go into a conversation with this jungler. Right? You're going to have to, I said, look, this is the way you're going to do it. You're going to talk to your coach, talk to your jungler, and you have to go wave by wave. Say, ask high quality questions. And you said this to me before, Nathan. You said questions like,
I could roam, I could maybe get something, but is it worth it?
Yep. I could do this, and I did do this. Let's look at what we got. But there's also a sacrifice. As long as we understand that this is the inherent sacrifice and the opportunities that we may miss by doing this, that's okay. But this is what we missed. And then this is what the alternative would be if I weren't to do this. And this is what we could potentially get with the alternative. Now, and this is what I teach and what we teach a lot of the time in our SoloQ, which is I don't mind someone making a decision as long as they understand what the consequences are of their action.
That's right.
You can go for that chaotic roam top side at the sacrifice of this wave, as long as you're understanding what the consequence of giving this wave is. That's okay. But if you're making that roam without understanding the consequence of that missing that
Someone's
wave,
just dragging you there.
then that's not good.
Yeah.
But what is happening is that these decisions are made and no one is going to hold you accountable but yourself. Because it's not like your coach knows jack shit about your lane anyway. The coach that you are playing with in that league or in that team is either so low level that they wouldn't even understand this stuff about the game because they're not high level themselves, or they're just not incentivized to focus on that stuff because they're focusing on the draft and all this macro shit. So you are the only person. If you're not holding yourself to that standard, it's not like anyone else is going to protect you or stand up for yourself. You're it because you're the only person who knows about that lane. And then what happens? We get a lot of timid people, right? Because League of Legends, we're very timid, and people who play League a lot of the time, you're not gonna step up and say something in front of 5 other people in a Discord call. Say, look, because you're playing the map completely wrong, so nothing happens. And then, like you said, you just slowly get worse, or you lose confidence.
Yeah,
because you're getting like you're gaslighted or blamed for things that weren't necessarily, or you didn't even want the game to get played out like this. And people with a louder voice, say your jungler has a louder voice. So no, I'm playing since our bot lane's our carry, he's our best player. I want to go bot. This is the sort of things you hear. We drafted this, we must go bot. Or whether you're pushed onto picks.
Well, you said the most dangerous thing is my team identity is to play for bots. I'm a pro bot. Like going into that, you're just done. You're just finished. If that's your team identity, it's like, sure that can be overall, but you got to get specific.
Specific.
Again, it's like if what you just said there, it's like, well,
that's not the way the game is played.
Like, what's the bot matchup there? Zoe into Jace there. You said that was really greedy. It's like, and it is Xin Zhao. They could just kill mid 1,000 times.
Or then it's like, okay, if you don't want to kill mid and you don't want anything to happen, that's fine. I'm going to go TP and I'm going to spellbook and scale. Like, as long as we understand what the dynamic is here and what
we have an intention.
We've got to have intention with everything here, but there's always a trade-off. But then it's like, but the thing is, these decisions aren't made with the trade-off in mind. And I was watching this play, and this is just not how you would play in SoloQ.
Wait, were you listening to the comms as well?
No, I was just watching the gameplay, but he was just telling me about it. But it's got me thinking. And then, because I get people all the time say I'm platinum and I'm in a team, and I'm like, that's fine. You can play on your team because people they love playing in teams, right? They know that they'll get better in playing SoloQ, but you can still play in a team. You do you. But it's very difficult to prevent yourself from falling into this trap without knowing how to ask and actively have the skill of asking high quality questions. Because no one else is going to be asking high quality questions. You got a view that I'm going in. Everyone else is, no one knows in this team how to ask high quality questions. They're actually all going to be sabotaging, getting worse. But in order for me to get the most out of the situation, get the most out of our team, I got to be asking better quality questions across the board at every time. So if your jungler says in the game and you says, I want you to shove and move bot, if you're okay with that, you don't know, go for that call. Then you go in the review and you sit with him or in the call. Say, here, what did you see to make this play? What did you want to happen? This was what I lost for this. What did you not understand about the mid matchup for you to make this call? Maybe talk to them a bit about the mid matchup. Grow their understanding.
Was the general win condition for this game?
What did you see the win con to be?
Yeah.
Did you think that mid could not be a win con? Go deeper, and you go deeper, and you grow alignment. The key being alignment. But the thing is, again, Nathan, these teams don't stick together.
Yeah. No,
so you grow this alignment for what?
Yeah.
They rage quit the team anyway in a few months.
People move on.
People quit. So you're going to build this alignment with your jungler or whoever the player is for them to be gone anyway.
Yeah, but again, that's why you need
to... Because it takes months and years to grow alignment with a player.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is why it's like you've got to have the SoloQ down pat before you go into... Otherwise, you will just get dragged around and just be confused and people leave and you're trying... You might be asking like, and trying. It's like...
But they might not even want to participate in that.
Yeah, it's like... It's difficult, man.
It's very difficult. But okay, then. So my advice then...
Yeah.
I would love to hear your opinion on this. I feel like you go one or two ways. You either get your entire team to play SoloQ-esque, or you just kind of you just say, accept reality that I'm not playing as an individual, and I'm just going to play purely for the team, and just play like team fighting, like in a way, or like I'm just going to take a back seat and just like accept that, because I feel like we've seen this in teams where you play ignorance is bliss, and you kind of just chill in a way, or you go all out. It's one or the other in a way. So this is again something I'm terrible communicating, because me and Nathan have had these experiences that people are like, what the fuck is he talking about here? Let me clarify. Okay, in OPL, in 2017, 2018, we had this approach. Okay, 2017, we had an approach where it was blissful ignorance in a way. Let's just be this most elitist, intense, SoloQ-oriented team where we don't really know how good we are, but we don't really know how bad we are. But it was like blissful ignorance.
Yeah.
Let's just go out there and see what we can do and think we're the best. It's like the whole think and you will become type thing. But we didn't really know... We didn't have any context or reference point to compare ourselves with anyone, because we're so good comparatively to those, and we're in an island, so we can't verse anyone, right? Yeah. So we didn't know how good we were.
Yeah.
And that actually led to decent results because we were so blindly confident, and we didn't overcomplicate the process. We're like, we didn't give a shit about team culture. We didn't give a shit about like high quality comms. We didn't give a shit about like caring about other people's feelings. It was just like, you just perform. We had a standard. We focus on our SoloQ. If you're top 10, if you're not top 10, that's a problem. You had to be top 10 in SoloQ at all times, period. So we had this very simple mantra, and it was not complicated, and we got results. Then what happened, over time, I started to get a little bit more complicated. We're like, oh shit, okay, we could do this much better.
There's all these interesting things like teamwork, like
communication, team culture, the way, you know, just in terms of our environment, the way we talk to each other, team values and all this crap. And I started to overcomplicate it bit by bit. And we still got results, but it was a lot rockier. 2018 was a lot rockier than 2018 and 2017, sorry. And then as I got year in, year out coaching 2019, I overcomplicated it too much, and we lost touch with SoloQ. We lost touch with what made the players good in the first place. And then we just overcomplicated the entire thing. And what we realized, and even we started to see this in 2018, even when we did win, we were versing a team, Chiefs at the time, who they didn't have any of the complex processes that we had in Direwolves in 2018. And we were actually 0-2 down with them in the grand final in split one, and we come back to reverse sweep them. But then one of the players said afterwards,
I remember specifically,
Calvin, wasn't it?
Calvin said, what's the point of doing all this when Chiefs almost beat us and they do nothing that we do?
Yeah, they do nothing what we're doing. And that actually really struck me. I was like, King's actually spot on.
Yeah.
These guys had a terrible, like the way they went about things was terrible. They had no performance director. They were just memeing all the time. Like, they had like no professionalism. Their processes were terrible. They were spamming games, like all this shit. Well, it wasn't really spamming games. Like, there was more the team-oriented stuff. Like, we still took SoloQ very seriously.
Yeah.
That's what still made us good.
Yeah.
But it was more like the team stuff. And then I was like to King, in a way where I was like, you're spot on.
I didn't know how to answer the question.
I didn't know how to answer. I was caught off guard, but I remember thinking in my head, he's right. He has a point.
Yeah.
And then that's when things started to click. I'm like, doing the right thing. It's kind of like a good plan executed poorly. No, sorry. A bad plan executed well is better than a
good plan executed poorly.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It is like that.
We had a good idea about what we want to do, but it was just executed poorly.
We couldn't execute. We didn't have I didn't have the leadership. I didn't have the resources to be able to execute on this. So let's just fuck it. And let's just play like 5 individuals in the mechanics match and win.
We did eventually move to that, didn't we?
We started to realize.
At the end of 2018. We just said, fuck all this team stuff.
Yeah,
let's just pure mechanics max.
Yeah.
Just be super confident in our own play like SoloQ.
Play scrims with no comms.
Yeah.
Silent scrims. We did all that sort of thing. We started getting results again. Because we dipped a lot. Because we lost all this confidence. And we just like, fuck it. Let's just get 5 really good individually. And that's when you went back to coaching Shern. And you were like looking at these trundle pillars.
Specifics.
And I was like just we're going specifics, individual coaching, back to basics. And that we won a championship. That split 2. And whenever I hear these amateur teams and these semi-pro teams, whatever rank you are, it's like they try to overcomplicate the entire process. It's like, yes, you could theoretically focus on your comms and this crazy team fighting and your macro gameplay.
I mean, I think that I always bring this. If you just, even on NA as well and EU, if you get the top 20 players, never play with each other, chuck them in a team, they'll dominate any amateur team. Absolutely just dominate. No matter how good, all their processes, team, all that sort of stuff, right? Which is, again, a testament to how important SoloQ is.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that even if... So let's say you're in a Platinum 4 team, and everyone's Platinum 4, and the competition, everyone's Platinum 4. Your mentality going in should be, let's keep it as simple as possible, playing it as similar as we can to SoloQ in a way. Like, let's really simplify this is how I interpret my matchup. This is how I'm going to play it. And just say it.
Yep.
This is what and this is good for me. This is not good for me, so I'm not going to do things that are bad.
That's right. Just exactly
limit comms as much as possible. Yeah. And there should be no 1-shot caller. Everyone should be 5-shot callers.
Yeah.
Everyone doing what is best for them individually. And you keep it super simple. And it shouldn't even be team reviews. It should be all individual reviews in a way. Or break out in groups of 2 or 3. So like you just talk with your jungler about a 2v2, get aligned about like again, how you would see that in SoloQ. Your jungler might ask questions about you. You might ask the enemy jungler, your jungler about questions about the enemy jungle path. Keep it super simple. Would you agree with that as a piece of advice, or like, because people are going to play, Nathan. People are going to play competitive competitions at all these ranks, no matter what.
It's fun.
It's fun. It is fun. 100%.
You know, and you have to test your skills and stuff. I mean, again, you got to make sure you're not even going to be improving. But yeah,
but it's a fun thing.
But you just gotta,
but we're talking about maximizing results here.
Yeah, just champion mastery. Know how you win the game as that specific champion. I mean, I always look at it from a jungle framework. So it's like, you know, you got to play towards your win conditions. Like, you have to be the one. You know what lane you're playing to. Don't get called to a lane just because something's pushed up. It's exact same as SoloQ. Like, you know, you just play
just
towards
because
the
you're on
best thing,
comms doesn't
pathing.
mean that the wave state is any better than it would be.
No, that's right.
It's like the wave state's still the wave state. The trades are still the trades.
The same as SoloQ.
He can sound desperate as he wants to say, say no.
It's just super simple.
It's super simple.
Honestly,
right?
I always the less talking, the better. Because what happens? People get into competitive, like, oh, I gotta, like, you know, talk.
Fight, go. Dragon.
Gank this game. My lane's in a really good state. There's actually a really good video by Thorin recently. He talks about silent scrims.
Right.
And Chovy specifically. Apparently Chovy tells everyone to shut the fuck up. No
really?
one talks. Yeah,
no one talks.
He doesn't even talk himself.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then I was just thinking, you know, the CS numbers and stuff he gets, which is just unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
There's no way you can do that talking. Like, it just makes sense to me when he said that.
Yeah. Yeah, Chovy's like the best.
You can't be the best mid in the world and talk, I feel like.
But even when you watch LPL, they don't actually talk that much.
I don't know the LPL.
Like, I saw something somewhere, and it was a team, and they were like, I can't remember where I saw it, but they were like just basically communicating with pings most of the time.
Yeah.
Because there's not much to be said. You know? There's really not much to be said.
There's not, yeah. Pings is definitely more than enough. It's your responsibility to have all the information that, like, people feel like they need to share. You should have that, like, especially as a jungler.
But at that level, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially.
Like F keys and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It was actually super interesting. Alice was looking at, he did a review, because he does the pro views and stuff like that. He was looking at Licorice, right? It was top lane.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. Like, he just rocked. He was like, the fight was like breaking out. And he was just like fully tunneled on the top lane, like just going 1v1. And he just like, the team fight was losing, but he just like kept going because he never FK'd to the fight.
Wow.
So he never knew what was going on. And I thought that was fascinating because that's so basic.
Did Alice
isn't
comment on it?
Yeah, he did. He said, this is disgraceful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, he was saying like, this is like why, you know, NA is like, you know, and like you actually look at that Pro View is actually really good in terms of like,
camera.
I don't say like exposing people, but like looking at like what people are missing, like why people are making the decisions there are in the game because they're not even looking. And this is actually what I found in my gameplay is I'm just not looking enough at shit, and I'm missing so many opportunities and just not seeing things. But that really struck out to me. It's like, man, even pro players are really.
I might actually get Pro View just to like have a gaze at the way like
it's interesting
trades play out and just like the way they play.
You get to see the whole camera move and everything. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that'd be really, really interesting. Yeah, I might do that for like a little bit of an experiment. Just because you can't make content on it though.
Yeah, apparently not.
Which sucks, but like, it'd be interesting to do on my Discord. Maybe I can do an article on it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like I felt very uncomfortable reviewing these games, and I'm just like, come on, man, you're better. You're literally playing worse. And it was like showing them because I always talk about it. Now it's like evidence. Like this is it.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like. And you're not really learning much, are you? That's the sad thing. What else did I have here? Yeah,
Well, speaking of competitive, there's a whole hot topic of the whole Alphari thing. Do you want to cover that with the whole Jatt?
Okay. Did you want to kick that off?
Yep. So obviously the hot topic is in the NA esports space is Alphari, stats wise, best top laner. Last split, they benched him for their academy player Jenkins. Team Liquid stated it as like personal and performance related issues, which people didn't really understand the whole performance thing. You know, it could be like scrims and stuff. And a lot of people are pretty outraged by this. And Thorin made a really good video sort of exposing a lot of the things that's happening. And apparently the players themselves don't really like what they don't think they think Jatt's overrated. They don't think his view of the game's actually, like they don't agree with it and stuff like that. It was actually a really interesting video. And Thorin's great for behind the scenes stuff because he's so connected and networked with the scene, right? So he gets inside information all the time, right? he packages it in a way so it doesn't like expose who does it, but like, you know, yeah. And like, so benching like star players. So like, this is the way that I sort of was thinking about it more. Okay. So let's side with Jatt a little bit here.
Okay, let's steelman Jatt's side,
because
is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
steelman his
well,
his side
because we've sort of, I mean, we benched Shippies. We sort of did the same thing in 2018. He got MVP the split before, didn't he? He did.
He was one of the best carry tops.
Yeah.
in
OPL. Yeah, 2018 split. We won.
Yeah, everyone was shocked,
MSI.
and everyone was saying we were going to shit the bed with Biopanther.
Yeah, right.
But that wasn't really. It was an attitude thing. It was a bit. It was a combination of both. It was gameplay oriented and
it was champ pool.
It's champ pool because we just got to competitive. It got to Worlds and we couldn't play tanks.
MSI.
And it's like because we'd been to MSI. We did Rift Rivals. We did Worlds. We did MSI again. And every single time we couldn't. We were playing. We're playing Fiora into Scion and just losing the game at like level 6.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I just don't want to play with it. I don't want to coach this guy. I'm done. He can't. I've given him now a year to fix his champ pool, and he hasn't done it. He hasn't listened to me. So then we just got rid of him. Yeah. And then we won easier with Biopanther because he played Scion and we just
played tanks
because we just remembered
and stuff.
Anyway,
I love Chippies, by the way.
Yeah, I love Chippies as well, and he's doing really well in
with Maryville and stuff.
Maryville in NA. It's not I hate Chippies. I love Chippies.
So we okay, so maybe it's a little bit different, maybe in our bench, but we still dealt with the whole backlash and stuff. So a lot of it. So some of the reasons as well was like sort of team culture. We wanted a better team environment because, you know, there was some back and forth and stuff like that. You know, when you play with a player for that long, like we had him for a while, you know, it's like things build up and stuff, and like having that little fresh things build as
definitely.
Well. So that's like potentially a reason. Another reason, it's like a statement. It's like, even though you're on Liquid, like this is my team, my culture. This is what I'm going to build for years. So it could be maybe a long-term play for Jatt, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Like maybe he's like...
And we just don't understand the inner workings of their org. He's been a pain in the ass. He's disrupting the flow of the environment, being, you know...
I mean, he maybe thinks Jenkins is the perfect fit or something like that. Like he considers a long-term, like he's thinking 5 years time they're going to win or something like that, right?
Yep.
So then it's like, well, then now we look at the opposite. And you talked about this. The Thorin had a really good point in terms of like that team Liquid roster is there to win, right? And this is the thing that we battle with as well, especially when we did our development squad in 2019 when we came last place, you know? And we sort of had pressure from like our investors and the team and stuff. It's like, you know, it's like coming last place, you know, you can be development, but like you can't come last place, you know, you still you still got to get results. It's like we're in a professional league because you just lose fans and stuff, right? So it's something that we struggle with as well. And at the end of the day, you know, the roster's built to win. I mean, if you look at the roster on paper, it's exceptional, right? It's like Core JJ almost won Worlds twice. Jensen, like solid mid laner.
Solid, yep.
Santorin, obviously, he's been pretty consistent, pretty good results in the last couple of years. Tactical, I'm coming out again. And Alphari,
amazing.
Very good, right? So...
Good, like your core being Core JJ, Jensen, and Alphari is nuts.
It's nuts, right? And it's like, well, you're benching one of them, right? It's like, well, you know, it's like, it's only an extra split. Like, just work it out. Even if you don't like it, it's like, you just got
It's your responsibility. It's your
responsibility.
Well, that's what Thorin said. He's like, your job as a coach is to maximize, at least in the short term, your like job is to increase or maximize your chances of winning.
And
right?
objectively, Jenkins coming in,
you cannot say that the chances with Jenkins are going to be higher.
That's right.
So look, I think there's a better way to tackle this, Nathan. I want to frame this from a coaching perspective. Now, this is something that we've dealt with personally. Like you kind of mentioned before, how we did like a development program in 2019. And we were like, okay, screw it. We're going to do a long-term plan here. We're going to build this roster for years. We're going to cut costs now. But we're going to get very good at developing players. And this is going to set us up later on when we actually know and we build a very good environment, great team culture. We have processes, everything, and we're putting ourselves in a good position for like 5 years, 3 or 4 years down the track, right? The problem is because of the financial state or the economics behind running a team, you're so limited because you need fans, and fans at the moment basically only come in esports from
when you win.
Winning. When it comes to esports, it only comes from winning. So if you are, say, an XL in LEC who never made playoffs, you're not going to get ever. I mean, G2 never would have gotten the fans they have and the money, the resources if they didn't win.
That's correct.
They only got or built the org that they did based off championships. Same as Fnatic. The best orgs build a fan base. And even now, Rogue has actually developed, like you can tell, they've actually built a pretty... and Mad Lions, both of them actually have a lot of fans because they're performing well. They actually perform well. And that you can follow them. And it's like, I can kind of see why I'd be proud to be a Mad Lions fan or a Rogue fan. Rogue came at the start as an awful organization. They actually, props to them. They built an awesome team. Okay, talk about NA. Talk about the teams that actually have fans and money. We talk about the C9, we talk about the TSM, we talk about TL.
Yep.
They only got the fans because they won. They placed high consistently. So then you get a team who's in, now, a lot of these orgs. Let's take 100 Thieves for an example. You're kind of in the middle where, look, you want to make a statement and get those championships or get those high placings under your belt to make sure that you've gotten people who want to follow you and they see you not as a joke org who know how to perform. Because we watch esports at the end of the day for performance, high performance. That's what esports is.
We want to see the best players.
We want to see the best players, the best teams battle it out.
The worlds.
Yep, that's what it's all about, right? Now, this is where things get complicated because when you aim to win in the short term, at that point, you're not creating a ground in which you can actually learn how to coach. So I don't believe Jatt has been given a team in which he could become a great coach. I don't think he is their true coach in a way. Now you compare that with, say, John Wooden. He got given an average roster. UCLA didn't have massive funding in the start. But he didn't care about the winning or the losing in the short term. He's like, I'm going to develop a program. I'm going to get better as a teacher and as a coach over the next 40 years to become develop this amazing program so that players, when they see how good we are at developing players, when they see what we're here to build, they want to be a part of it. Build it and they will come. Now, in esports, we don't have that philosophy whatsoever. There's no build it and we will come. It's, okay, we got all this money. We need to buy the best players we possibly can. And then we're going to plug and play and then we're going to win. And that's what TL's done, right? They bought in the core JJ. They bought Jensen. They bought Alphari. You got these amazing players and they're there to win. So in my opinion, your job as a coach title, when you get titled that title, coach,
head coach,
generally in other sports, it goes alongside with teacher, doesn't it? You're a teacher. I don't really view being a coach in esports as a teacher. I view it as a manager. You're like a GM. You're like a general manager or manager. You're
game knowledge.
Yeah, you don't really need even game knowledge to a certain extent. You kind of just got to point them in the right direction. Like, these guys know everything about the game, right? You're not there to teach them anything. You don't have the ability to teach them anything. So you're not there to really coach. So what I'm getting at here is that the way, so let me differentiate. You got Jatt, who's more of like a head coach, right? Then you have strategic coaches who can actually then teach about, put together the information from the solo lanes to come up with a strategy. Draft comes into play. That is genuine. There is, I wouldn't say that's coaching though, in a way. It's more like, again, you're not really teaching much, are you? When you're a strategic coach, you're kind of like pushing them in the right direction or getting them to think about the game in a different way, or kind of like making sure all the pieces are in the right place.
I mean, it is teaching them, isn't it?
Do you think?
Yeah.
Teaching what?
Teaching.
Because I don't think you like. What are you going to teach Jensen about macro play? Like, what are you
I
going to teach?
mean, the idea is like teaching them how to work together better on macro.
Right.
I don't know.
Because I genuinely don't know what you're going to teach.
I mean, maybe draft's really important.
Yeah, draft, but you don't teach draft.
Yeah.
You do draft.
You do draft, yeah.
It's a skill set.
Yeah.
Draft and team play and like how champions work together is a skill set, isn't it? I mean, I guess you could teach players how to interpret or how to team fight better with their comp.
Yeah.
I guess you are teaching in very little aspects, but okay, let's give them that. Let's say the strategic coaches are teaching them specific elements of the game. Basically, what I'm getting at here is that there's no breeding grounds to actually get better at
Coaching. Yeah.
And
When you have like star players on
when
your
you have
team.
star players on your team 24/7.
Yeah.
So and what I think we're missing in esports is leadership. And I don't think leadership and proper leaders are built on competence. In the middle of John Wooden's pyramid of success, you have skill. So what I'm getting, this is where I'm super confused when it comes to esports. Is now, okay, we need leadership, we need strong leadership, we need the whole, what a real good leader is making sure that there's a way of doing things around that org, the way we talk, the way we act, our values, all this stuff, and the direction of the organization. Then you've got the strategic coach, they're the more skill, right? They're like this in-game, the macro, the drafting, everything. And then you've got the players, but then in a weird way in esports, you don't have one person who could do both. You don't have a really competent leader, great communicator, and in-game strategic coach. It's one or the other. You're either a head coach, in which you're not really talking about the game that much, or you've got only a strategic coach. So then what happens, you get a person like Jatt, and Jatt might actually, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he actually is a good leader, right? Let's say he understands the direction of the organization. He holds himself to a very high standard. He's really pushing the culture, so on and so forth. But it's very difficult in this day and age for players and the way players are brought up nowadays to respect a leader that doesn't have
the same level
of skill and game knowledge. Because like, why is he telling me what I should do, how I should do it, when he hasn't achieved anything as a pro player? He hasn't done anything amazing. He's only been a head coach for 1 year, and
we're already a good team.
A good team before then.
Yeah.
So where is there's a lack of inherent respect, and now this is where things get even more complicated, because the leader you've put in that position a lot of the time is either egotistical or insecure. Go hand in hand with esports because of the way esports is, and so then the way I interpret this entire thing, and this is nothing personal against Jatt, and he's a victim of the scenario that he's in.
Yeah, I think he's not set up for success.
He's not set up for success. So he's trying to be a leader when he doesn't have the skill set to be a leader.
Yeah.
So he's been given an impossible task. Even if he was a great leader, but he can't be a great leader because he doesn't have the competence. But he can't have the competence because he wouldn't. If he did have that level of competence, he probably wouldn't be a great leader, because you'd only put your time in so many things, in so many buckets. So then the players probably feel a bit messed up. Like, okay, look, I like this. I don't know who the actual strategic coach is of Liquid is, but they're probably, okay, I respect this guy, but then that guy probably memes, or he's not a great leader. He's not a good communicator, beta male, whatever you want to say. And then you've got this leader who might have those quotes, but doesn't have the competence. So then Jatt, probably out of insecurity, is getting challenged, and in his leadership position is like, this guy is against the culture.
That's right. That's exactly what's happening.
And I got to get rid of him.
Yeah. And
it's a bit of an ego move.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say all of it. It's probably some of it's justified, but it's an ego move. But then you ask, okay, if culture and coaching and all that stuff was so important to Team Liquid, they probably would have kept the same roster, or they would have kept the same coaching staff, or they would have been process oriented ages ago. Like, I don't know. I feel as though, like, I'm very conflicted about what Team Liquid stand for. Are you there for winning this one split, in which results are all that matters? Fuck everything else, in which you keep him, even if at the sacrifice of team culture. Or are you for long-term development and results in which you would have like a really good, I mean, I guess I've kind of done that with tactical in a way. I don't know where tactical came from. But yeah, I'm just conflicted. I don't, from an audience standpoint, not being from the inside, I don't know what they stand for. And what I'm saying is that
the benching of thing confuses things a lot, right?
The benching confuses things a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because it's like it's not doing either.
And at some point, I kind of feel like someone has to stand out. Like, this is what needs to change, right? The people, these coaches, so you get a Bjergsen, or you get these head coaches like Reapid, or one of the established coaches in the major regions needs to step up in public and say, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm just learning.
Not in terms of game knowledge, but in terms of like...
But in terms of it being like your coach.
Yeah.
Because a coach is an all-encompassing package.
Mm.
So, again, how can you expect them to be anything? How can they be expected to be a leader or like the game hasn't been around long enough for them to have developed that skill set to be a coach. So what I'm getting at is I don't think where we are right now. We're actually getting worse. The coaches are actually getting worse because they're pulled away from
the actual skill of coaching.
They're pulled away from the skill of coaching. They have to be game oriented, and then they just outsource the leadership and the stuff to like the GM or the CEO. But then they get no respect from the players anyway.
They're just there to pay.
But they're not there long enough or around enough to even change the way things are done, the professionalism and everything. So it's just a very messy scenario where like I don't. The only solution in my mind is that it would be really humbling and really awesome to see Jatt say, "Look, I'm actually new to coaching. I don't really know what I'm doing. I've been really conflicted because I want to spend time getting better at the game and like learning more about the game, but I'm also trying to be a better leader." You know, or in which he probably shouldn't make a decision like that yet to bench Alphari. It wouldn't make sense. So that's why I'm like, holy shit, that's just an explosion. That's an ego thing. So, maybe the future of coaching when it comes to esports is that there isn't just one coach. Maybe the dynamic is you have a head coach, and this is the way it is heading. It looks like it. We have head coaches. Like in SKT, they have the head coach. He doesn't really talk about the game, and then you have the strategic coaches. But then, how would that look like in terms of day to day? Like that's so hard. If your coaches aren't great communicators and aren't great leaders, they're the ones that are interacting the most with the players. Very awkward. But then you were saying before earlier, Nathan, you don't believe it has anything to do with the coaches. You believe that it all starts with the players anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a player, you get good without coaches currently. So it's like, why do you need them?
Right.
That's like the first thing. I mean, maybe like some people, you know, I think coaching, maybe the newer players, like, let's say for someone like Fudge, like he's probably really seen the, you know, with Fantix and all that sort of stuff,
he's
right?
like got better through coaching.
And LS. But I'd say in general, especially more the older players, like, it's like someone like Doublelift.
Well, Doublelift said straight outright, didn't he?
Yeah.
Doublelift said outright that coaches are useless.
Yeah, I think
right?
he did, yeah. So...
what does that say about...
Yeah, which is interesting, isn't it? You know?
That's not good.
No, it's not. You'd never ever hear that from a traditional
You'd never hear
athlete.
that. Never.
Right? So... So yeah, I think it's a bit of a time thing. I think it's going to take some time. Decades. For people to sort of know what positions, what's coaching in League of
what does it
Legends
look like? Because it's just not...
What teams look like that are built over... Because at the end of the day, remember, teams never last the 5-core starter. Even cores of like 3 people.
They don't last.
They don't last very long at all, you know?
Well, then maybe there is just a new age of high performance when it comes to League of Legends. Maybe high performance in League of Legends isn't what high performance in traditional sports is.
It's just
maybe it's just it's
2
so different.
2 years, damn, gone, see you later.
Yeah, maybe that's just what it is. Maybe it is just it's just like a short term pump and dump. You know, you get the best players you possibly can.
Yeah.
And you use and abuse them for as long as you can.
They burn out.
Until they burn out, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that is. Because no one's really done that otherwise. I mean, G2 actually probably the only ones that
But
are
that's
started.
not still not that long, Curtis.
It's been what, like 3 years?
Well, I mean,
When was
I would
put
say
together?
that their teams went back to scratch this year, getting rid of perks.
Right, they changed
Because that's
perks,
the
right?
key of their team, wasn't it?
Yeah, true. It's not like they had the same roster. Yeah, I mean, but they're the closest to they're the closest to it though.
You're the
G2.
closest to it. That's right. Yeah.
Like they've kept basically the same coaching staff and nearly the same roster for and performed well
For about 3-4 years. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously there's a lot to learn from G2, but yeah. So when it comes to that Jatt scenario, I think there's a lot more under the surface, and there's no way Jatt's going to last in Liquid.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Or do you think he will?
I mean, depends
He's
how
going to
much.
shift the blame onto other people.
Well, it sounds like the management currently back him. We'll see if
Yeah.
that lasts. I mean, he's probably got a ship, and like they've got to do something big,
Right.
maybe to win. Like if they don't make Worlds, like something's gonna happen there.
The top 3, right?
Yeah.
Is Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100 Thieves is looking pretty good.
Yeah, looking good. That Abadage, he's killing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect example, right? He's just completely changed the dynamic of their
That
entire team.
just one player. Yeah.
Poor Rome, my dude.
Yeah. It's a bit sad. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's just a nightmare. And this is why, Nathan, maybe we have just copped out,
What?
we always talk about like, it's too early to go into esports.
Yeah.
Maybe again, that's another cop out. Maybe we could take responsibility and try and go above and beyond and like be the people who change.
I think we actually got a mailbag question about that. Someone called us out saying, "Well, you guys say all this shit. Why
Yeah.
don't you do something?"
Yeah.
about
Why don't
it?"
we do something about it? Like,
Where was that?
I mean, it's a good point. Because like we talk so much about like what all this stuff that's doing that's going wrong. We don't.
Well, we talk about the economics a lot. We're not a fan of the economics of esports.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous from a career standpoint. Yeah, that's a good point actually.
Let me find it. Let's jump into
Yeah.
mailbag now.
You wanna do
and
mailbag?
I'll find that. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll sort of like segue into what I was just saying because I know it's here somewhere.
Okay.
All right, guys, and here we go. Welcome back for Nathan's mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. All right, let's dive into it.
Before this question, Nathan.
Yeah.
A better quality question, just to touch on riff on what we said before. What would a new age coach look like? Like, what would the new age? We're criticizing what coaching is right now. What would, if you were to envision the best quality, like a picture of mastery for coaching in the future, what would it look like? Like, how would they talk? What skill set would they be? What would their responsibilities be? Because in my mind, I think the way we're heading, where it's 2 separate coaches, is the way to go. Like, you have the head coach and you have like the strategic coach and positional coaches.
I think
things
positional
like that.
coaching is really important.
Yeah.
Just looking
we're
at one
so,
specific.
We're so fucking biased.
Yeah, we're so biased. I know. No, it's interesting. I think it was Nemesis or something that said the amount of time he's spent wasted on VOD reviews with team VOD reviews is unbelievable in terms of all like nothing gets done because their alignment or view of the game was all incorrect anyway.
No
alignment. So you get no value from VOD reviews.
Nothing
anyway.
changes. Even if you're in that exact scenario again, nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. I mean, I as well. So I think team VOD reviews, there should be like sit down personal, and then you have our questions to ask a specific player.
Let's just break it down from our experiences. When we did the individual stuff, that's what got the best results. Period.
Yeah.
All of my team coaching, if you think about when we performed our best, that's when we did the individual coaching. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, in terms of a new age coach,
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. I have to think about that.
Yeah.
more.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very complex question.
League of Legends is the same to traditional sports and all the teamwork sort of stuff, but it's different as well.
A part of me feels like it would be like a Monte Cristo, the old school Monte Cristo, when he was very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But he was well spoken.
Yeah.
But he wasn't out of touch in terms of like the way they communicated.
Yeah, or the way players.
Like you got to communicate with. You got to communicate in a way that resonates with the person you're coaching.
With each individual.
So I think he had a really what was that, like season 5?
4 or 5, yeah.
Like that's when he had a really good touch on the pulse of like.
He did coach CLG,
and he coached. That in my opinion, he was kind of ahead of his time.
Oh, but maybe not as well.
But maybe not.
I mean, that could have just been all appearance on camera. We didn't know what it was like behind
True,
the
we didn't know what it
scenes,
was behind the scenes. But he at least had the image of being a good coach. Anyway.
All right,
we'll probably touch on that another time.
So this one here is titles from Matthew. The title of this email is called Criticism/Question. Nathan and Curtis. Matthew from Cleveland here, and I just had a bit of a criticism and a few questions. You two often talk about how if you really want to do something, you just have to get in there, grind it out, and do it. How you have to embrace the suck and recognize that it's all a process and you're going to have setbacks and things aren't always going to go your way, but that's okay. A really good ethos, the Broken by Concept ethos, I guess. You also both try to be good role models and set high expectations for yourselves and your communities. You say that someone has to be the first to do this, and I think you guys do a very good job of it. So my question is, why don't you look at coaching professional teams with all this in mind? You've both stated several times that the current pro scene is hopeless and that it's unprofessional and that you want to wait to see if it improves before you ever think about becoming a coach for a team. Isn't this just skipping the hard work of improving? Skipping the suck part? Like someone has to get in there and do the heavy lifting at some point. Why not you? Like I totally get that you guys have no interest in coaching pro teams at all, or if it doesn't fit into your lives right now, but those aren't reasons you've given. Just that it's bad and you don't want to deal with it. Interested to hear your thoughts, Matthew.
Yeah, so that's a really, really great... That's a great question.
It is, isn't it? That was from 27th of May. That was a long time
Right.
ago. I think I was going to get to it, but we just never did.
Right.
So I guess that's a good...
I mean...
Yeah, go on.
I mean, let's be... I mean, brutally honest. I think the main thing right now is just a lifestyle and financial, like career standpoint.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, when you got to understand when you are working for yourself, personal brand is pretty important. Like being known is important. Whether you're a caster, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, whether you're an agent, whether you're a social media manager, it doesn't matter what you are. You still got to have some form of personal brand or a brand. When you coach or the way I interpret, when you coach, and if I would do because again, I don't think I would ever go back to a head coach role. I don't see myself going back to a head coach role. I could see myself going work as like a positional coach or like some form of strategic coach, maybe I don't know, in the future. But that would, like, the downside is that I'm so busy with my work, I don't have time to have a personal brand. And especially if I'm a positional coach for a team, I'm behind the scenes.
No one knows what you do.
No one knows I exist.
Yeah.
Perfect example, and I'm going to say, we mentioned him a few times, is Fantix. Right? Fantix, the OS coach, he went to NA. He coached for FlyQuest Academy. And now he's like I think he's FlyQuest Academy head coach. He was he's got a great mind of the game.
Yeah.
But no one knows who he is.
I mean, he helped Fudge get to where he was.
Yeah, no one even knows he helped Fudge. No. He is the reason Fudge is Fudge.
Yeah.
No one knows he exists. I mean, a small portion of people, maybe there's a small subset.
Oh, but it's irrelevant.
It's so irrelevant because he doesn't have a personal brand. So you're just always on the back foot. And then imagine if then for some reason, politics and, company organization politics.
They just don't like the way he does
the way
things.
he coaches. They don't like the way he teaches.
See you later. No job.
See you later.
No
Go find another job. Who the fuck are you, Fantix? Or maybe he was trying to do a development thing with a team. He tries that for 3 years. Never gets the choice over the players he wants to work with. Boom. Gets fired. Doesn't even have results to show for it. From a career standpoint, it's very dangerous. And that's the biggest turnoff for me. About for you.
Yeah, well, I think that it's very results focused and stuff. That it's like competence necessarily, in a weird way in esports currently, competence doesn't really necessarily mean you get the really good position.
Yeah, competence doesn't.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of networking involved,
and
like a lot of other industries.
Yeah, I guess it's like
every other industry,
right? But I think we literally gave that advice as well. It's like how to become a coach in one of our first 3 or 4 episodes. It's like, but I mean, to be honest, I think I am. I think we are. We are getting to the nigger and doing the work. Yeah, it's not at the professional level, but the work that I do, I feel like is like the players that I help might not be professional players soon, but maybe there's that one.
Maybe there's that one that makes it through that can change the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, I think we actually are in a way. Like, I still think we are influencing the pro scene. Maybe not now. Maybe not in 5-10 years. But
I mean, maybe we are doing it in a selfish way, but I don't think I would change it.
I mean, I'm working on my craft now as well. You know, I still work on my craft. I'm trying to be really good in my SoloQ and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying really hard. Like, I'm fine. I feel like I'm not really in the position that I can actually give significant value to a player or a team that's, like, worth, like, all my full time, you know, in a way. Like, I need to work on myself.
Yeah. I mean, I want to...
It's like help yourself before you help others,
I mean,
right?
we've only been a positional coach for 2 years. Not even, right? Barely. I mean, I even said this on one of my coaching sessions the other day. I said, look, I'm still learning to become a mid-lane coach.
I'm learning as well.
So we need time.
I still need years.
Years.
I'm chipping away at it.
I mean, we learn something every day.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. But another big one, Nathan, is that we don't believe in the economics.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
I don't even know where my money's coming from. Yeah. The difference is if you're working for like a company where you know where the money is coming from, like a school makes money, a hospital, a government job, a big tech company, you kind of see where their money comes from. But then you look at like an esports team, it's like their money's just coming from investors.
Yeah, just randomly popped out of
nowhere. It just can be taken away so quickly. And the first people who are going to be to go, coaching staff. Done. Coaching staff, gone. You get replaced with a content creator. You get replaced with a streamer straight away. You're just
they bring way more value to the organization.
Your role is so fickle. Like you could just lose your job so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, again, these are genuine concerns. I mean, like you could see them as excuses, and in a way, but they're genuinely what I'm concerned about. And I guess I got to put my livelihood first when it comes to that. So look. It's a combination of a lot of things. And I think that, I could definitely see myself going back into the pro scene at one point. It would have to be for the right org, with the right amount of, like, I agree with the people that I'm working with, and have the right amount of say, in a way, like the right amount of respect. Like, they would have to respect my craft. And not, I'm not going to go in bossing around everyone, but they would have to have the room to do it my way. And yeah, maybe the right place at the right time. Who knows?
I mean, never say never,
Yeah,
right?
never say never, right?
Yeah, I guess we'll just see how the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's like, yeah, I'm just trying to just help players of all ranks right now. Just get better as a teacher, better understanding the game myself. And I feel like I got a lot of work to do still around that. So
I mean, I still want to prove myself in other servers.
Yeah,
that's why I really want.
Yeah,
I want to go to China. I want to go to Korea.
Korea Bootcamp must be done first.
It has to be done from like an individual standpoint.
Yeah.
So does that answer that question?
I think it does.
It does?
Yeah. All right. So
good question though. Yeah. I love when we get I love when we get kind of criticized in a way.
Me too.
It's kind of good, and
I love it. I love it as well. We had the criticism, the Tyler 1 thing, all that sort of stuff. That was good as well.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, next one here is current state of high school League of Legends in NA.
Okay.
So this is from Nathan, he's written into us before. I think he's like a teacher, and he like runs the esports section of a high school. So this, I guess, sort of ties into the whole coaching and infrastructure and that sort of stuff as well. So this is from Nathan, another Nathan. We love Nathans. Nathan represent. Just wanted to write with some of the frustrations I have with the current situation with Riot's terms of service in the US regarding high school competitions. For a background, I'm an IT admin and esports coach for our local high school in a small town. I've seen firsthand how esports can have a huge impact on a student's life. We have students from 3 sports athletes to young women, and yes, the typical hide-in-basement do-nothing nerds. Having a group that so many kids are passionate about has opened new doors for them. I've seen kids fight through depression by finding new friends in a situation they feel safe in. I have a current student who is 1 year out from graduating, comes from a house situation that breaks my heart every time I think about it, and is talking to local colleges about getting a scholarship to play League of Legends. It would literally change his life for the better. It's unreal the impact it's had in only 2 years of doing it. If you're not aware, Riot changed their terms of service last year, banning the use of anyone competing in sanctioned leagues or competitions that last more than X amount of days. It also states that no high school esports related organizations, state or region level, not individual high schools. I don't remember the amount, but it was very short. There are only a few exceptions to this, and colleges are free to compete as they were. To be blunt, Riot did this because they were offered money, shares, or some other financial incentive to have an organization called Playverse, we call them Play BS, become the exclusive host for all our high school competition. So what's the issue? The issue is that high schools have to pay to do this. You have to pay for a pass to play. Each pass is $64 per student per year. Even worse, there's a minimum requirement of 16 passes. That means a minimum of $1,000 per school to play League of Legends without violating the new terms of service. Most esports teams aren't funded by the high schools. We raise our own money to buy equipment like mice and keyboards. Our state org's been in contact with other state orgs and had discovered several things. First is that nearly all high school orgs like our own are non-profit and run by volunteer coaches. Second is that the announcement of the TOS seems to have come from nowhere, since Riot never once reached out to these organizations. Third is that nearly every one of these organizations is dropping all support for League of Legends. Schools altogether are dropping their League of Legends teams because of this situation, and it seems we'll be forced to do the same. So what am I supposed to tell Timmy, who has 1 year left to impress the college coaches watching him? He can't afford to get into these leagues. He doesn't even have a headset at home. He's very skilled, but we are working on some other out-of-game issues like tilt to bring his play in-game up. Looking at it from an esports perspective, in already struggling regions, slowly high schools and middle schools had been fielding competitive teams in semi-structured environments with some development in mind. While it's a bit of the Wild West since it's all new, you have kids jumping into your game several times a week and actively looking to get better and win. On top of that, these kids are buying skins for their favorite champs they play, so when they get into competition, they aren't just going in with vanilla skins. In our state, we had 24 teams of 5 or more students. Ours had 10 members for the league. That's 120 kids, minimum, that are actively playing the game to compete and improve. That means they're on more and buying things, watching streams, watching LCS and Worlds. Last year, when we started, we had 0 students that played the game prior to that. Think about that. I'm sure we aren't the only school in the list of 24 with that situation. That's 11 new playing players, myself included as the coach. As Curtis has made very clear, you need to be pretty good to understand the game and coach. That would never had played League otherwise. What in the heck were they thinking? I know people like to blame Riot for things a lot, but this is beyond just the game. Nearly seconds after the announcement was made that our state wasn't going to support it next year, I got panicked messages all over Team's Discord. Really sad situation. I just wanted to bring both your attention to it and hear what both of you think about it all. I guess that it's just a game, but in some ways, has it not transcended that? What would have happened if basketball would have trademarked an overseeing company, said, sure, you can play, but you have to $1,000 to sign up? It would never gotten anywhere. It's frustrating as a coach and player. So I think that was an interesting issue to highlight.
Devastating.
You know what? The first thing I think of is like, so we know Riot. I mean, we know Riot OS pretty well. They're pretty pressured to make money from esports.
We've seen this firsthand.
Yeah.
With OS.
And I mean, the OS was gone. Bam.
Well,
gone.
OS was literally gone. Our region, our competitive region, like the league, they got rid of our pro league. This is not even talking high school.
Yeah.
We had a high school league.
Which is all gone, obviously, now.
That's all gone.
Yeah.
Like, the entire system exploded. And all because it wasn't making enough money. It wasn't profitable.
Because what Riot's done is they've separated the esports business and their skins and that sort of stuff. They're actually two different parts of the company.
Look, let's first in order to understand the actions of Riot, we need to understand their incentives and how they make their decisions. Ever since they got picked up by Tencent, especially, I would say that was like the inception. I feel like that's where things really started to change, because I would say we're in happy days. So between season 2 or 3 to like season,
I think the Tencent
7?
acquisition happened in season 4 or
was
something.
it?
Yeah, it was pretty
right. But like it took a while for things changed, but I think that was like a big shifting point. But anyway, like it was kind of like the Wild West, and like but it was like money was flowing everywhere from season 2 to like season, let's say season 7.
Man, there was so much money in it.
There was. I was like season 7.
Season 7, yeah.
Season 2 to season 7. There was like 5 seasons there, 5 years, where it was like they were pumping money because it was growth.
Growing the esports growth.
No, to grow the game.
Yeah, that's right.
This was all to grow the game.
Yeah.
Remember, because esports
well,
is a marketing
esports
tool
as well. They put a lot of money in esports. They've cut that back.
No, but esports was a marketing tool.
That's right, yes.
Esports was only ever a marketing tool.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay. So they had this money, they pumped it into it, and they were okay because it was part of their marketing budget, I'm assuming. So then what happened is that they're like, oh shit, League is huge now. We've got this massive player base. We want to monetize this player base. But what's the point in continuing to fund these leagues everywhere at a loss when we've already got people coming in? We're so big we can't fail in a way that we don't need the return on the investment on these leagues isn't there. We're not incentivized to do that anymore because the players are going to play the game anyway. I think that's where they're coming from. And now I think what what O's found was that they're just money focused. It's all money oriented. If they can save 300 grand here, 200 grand here, they will take it away. And it's a sad reality, but at the end of the day, Riot's a business and they want to make more money if they can, especially now that they're run by Tencent, who are incredibly shareholders, profit oriented. If they can make, a few $1 million extra a year, they're going to make a few $1 million extra a year. So I would say that's where that's at. And it's awful to see, but I would say Riot, time and time again, have kind of proven that they're too slow and they're very big. They're like, their slogan at the start, they're all player oriented. They're like a game for real competitive gamers. They've really lost that. That's not what League's about anymore. League was primarily, when you actually watched that Netflix documentary, it was like, was it Brandon Beck and that guy?
Mark Merrill. Wait,
Mark Merrill? No, not Mark Merrill.
Sorry, Brandon Beck.
Brandon Beck and
oh my God.
Whatever that guy. They were gamers and they wanted a competitive game they thought it was going to be a small niche. They thought it was going to be only for these competitive hardcore gamers. But then they realized that it's connected with so many people. And I think over time they've lost touch with the competitive aspect of the game. Hasn't become as important to them. That's why we're seeing all those crazy skins nowadays and like champions that they would never have released back in the day because they make a shit ton of money off these new champions.
It's like hot girls and hot boys.
Yeah, hot girls and
skins.
K-pop.
Yeah.
All that crap.
Yeah.
So this is the sad reality. It's kind of like they're like a behemoth, man. They're like just eating stuff up, man, and spinning it out. Nothing you can really do about it. What happened in OS is that a third party organizer did it. ESL, a third party kind of took over it. The unfortunate situation in that one, look, I don't know how that whole works. Like maybe they can't prevent you from playing the game. Like you could, I'm just spitballing here. Again, I don't know the laws, but like you could theoretically make a team, not even really connected to the high school in a way, right? And all online. This guy doesn't have a keyboard and a mouse. I can't solve that problem for you, but the keyboard and the mouse. But if you were able to get these players to play it, even from home, you could still organize. You have the contacts with all these other high schools. You could create your own little statewide competition and just do practice games every Saturday. It wouldn't. There's third party free bracket things that you can use as well. Isn't there, Nathan? Kind of like what was it called back in the day?
Go for all.
Yeah, go for all. There's things that you can use.
Wait, so was he saying that that there's a limit on something for like they can't play in like a league that's more than?
But what I'm getting at, Nathan, is that I don't know what the specifics are, but they can't prevent you from playing the game behind closed doors in a competitive environment. Anyone can play that.
Yeah.
So what happens? What was his name? Nathan, the guy who's writing this email.
Yeah.
You hit up 10 of the other esports organizers from 10 other schools. So look, we want to keep doing this because it's really great for the kids. You do your practice on a night at home, and just like they would after school training for like a sport, whatever it is. And obviously you're going to miss that in-person stuff, and that's huge, and I get that. But I'm sure things could still be done from an online perspective, whether you do Zoom calls, Discord calls, whatever you want to do, and you can run these weekly or fortnightly competitions. I'm sure these things can be done as a workaround.
Yeah, then you're really relying on like someone's got to organize it. The high school teachers, like Nathan seems really. I don't know if the other ones.
If
are
everyone's
like that,
just passionate, you've got to find some passionate people to take a bit of time out.
And it's like, well, they're not getting paid for that, So it's like it's got to be your volunteer.
They would have to be passionate about it. They would actually genuinely want to, help out. I mean, that's the thing that only can
Versus if it was part of the school program, that would be much better.
It would
you know?
be. I mean, you can't change that though, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, unless you got all the schools together to make a petition.
Yeah.
But that's again a huge task.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth putting on Reddit though. Nathan, you should put that on Reddit and make you should make an effort.
That will pop off on Reddit.
I reckon that could be top of Reddit if you word it well.
Yeah.
And I think he worded it pretty well there.
I'll email him back saying we responded to his question because it was a while ago as well.
Okay. Yeah, definitely hit him up.
Yeah.
Because I think that could pop on Reddit.
Yeah.
And that'd be the only way to get Riot's attention. Because Riot actively check Reddit.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's the only things that spring to mind for me. But it's a pain. That's a shame. It's terrible.
Yeah. And again, I mean, Riot should really just look at like the high school. That's so great, you know?
So great. It's a grassroots, man.
You know, and then you also get to educate people how to have a healthy relationship with the game through high school. That's where it starts. That's where it's important.
They're so backwards sometimes, Riot.
Yeah.
They really are. In certain areas, they've got it completely wrong.
Yeah.
In certain areas, they got it right.
Yeah.
Like they have it great. And then other areas, they're just so wrong.
Mm.
Really backwards. Because you think about every other sport, the grassroots is everything.
Is everything, yeah.
Grassroots is absolutely everything.
Like, remember Auskick for AFL and stuff?
Auskick in Australia. But like, think about it in LCS academy. LCS teams are pulling their academy teams.
Yeah, with that news as well.
So you got LCS teams.
The grassroots is just getting worse. It's like
the grassroots is getting worse when it should be getting better.
They literally just want LCS teams just want Koreans just all come to my team, fuck everything, fuck grassroots. You don't even build good businesses that way. You don't build good businesses. It's like. What's
you want
going
an ecosystem, right?
Yeah, what's going on? Where's the ecosystem mindset? It's just like everyone just wants to win or something. Or
so short term.
It's unbelievable.
Hurts.
So you hear this, you hear the high school's falling apart.
That's not good. Viewership's declining on LCS.
And then you hear the LCS owners now want to not have to have an academy team. Travis Gaffel reported that, by the way. Check out his videos. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, look, the thing is, you can understand why they want to cut costs because they want more money so they can put it into the best.
We're talking about $1,000 per school. 24 times 20. Let's say
no, I'm talking about the LCS teams.
Oh, for the LCS teams. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like you can see because they're probably spending 200, 300 grand more, probably 500 grand. No, yeah, probably upwards of 500 grand. No, we're talking coaching staff, food, the whole shebang.
I reckon 200.
The players, Nathan, in academy, they're making base 60, 70.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe 400 then.
Yeah, it's gonna be 400 or 500 minimum.
Jesus Christ! No wonder they want to get rid of
I know
them.
other people were on 100.
Yeah.
In academy, so they're making between 60 to 100 US, right? 100,000, and that's academy.
Yeah. And the LCS teams are already.
And they're on gaming houses. You got to pay for their food. You got to pay for everything. Coaching staff. It's a big operation.
It is, isn't it?
You got to have them housing and everything in LA. It's a huge operation. So we're talking 500,000-600,000. It's a lot of money. And they could probably think, well, look, we can either have this on an academy team where we're barely never going to pick up these players the way they're viewing it because they're just getting imports anyway. Or we could put that 500-600 grand on an extra, get a better player salary. We can get a better import or whatever it is. You can kind of see it. I'm just trying to empathize with the orgs. When they're already pushed for cash and their revenue streams are so terrible and inconsistent. Their main revenue streams coming from sponsorship. The most inconsistent revenue stream you could possibly have. Especially when the viewership's declining. How are you going to tell that to the sponsors? The update.
It's not promising.
And then especially for the sponsors that want as much eyeballs as possible.
Yeah.
And then they're losing. An org that's losing. They're getting no fans.
They're definitely not getting more money on the renewal of the contract, are they?
Definitely not. So you can kind of see why.
Yeah.
You got any other questions, Nathan?
That's it for
today.
Highlight some issues and
look. I think we kind of only briefly at a surface level touched on topics today. I think we're gonna have to get what I would want from the end of this episode. I'm gonna go back to my Broken by Concept channel or whatever. And I'll read the comments as well. Sometimes I feel like when we talk about esports, I don't know if people want to hear about esports.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I sometimes I feel uncomfortable talking about esports because do people even want to hear about it?
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of interesting, but if people don't follow esports, who the hell is Jatt? It's what are they going to get from this? You know. So I'd love to hear, guys, in the comments. Do you want to hear more about
I mean, we're sort of like this podcast is like helping people have better SoloQ experiences, a healthier relationship with the game, and using it as like a self-development tool. Like this is all just like hot topics, esports and stuff. You know, that's why we don't really cover it, right?
Yeah, we very rarely do it.
And that's why I think we feel uncomfortable when we do cover it, because it's like,
What's this got to do with me having a better relationship with the game?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is sort of our responsibility as well to highlight issues like the high school thing, maybe.
Yeah,
because we're about development and growth, right, and stuff, and you know.
I don't know. I mean, let's hear back from the community.
Yeah, let's hear. That's what we got to hear. We're about the people here. What do the people think?
All right,
guys. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on episode 56 of the Broken by Concept podcast.